Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to another video in our full stack development series. And in this video, we are going to build a social media app where user can upload pictures similar to Instagram from scratch using React, TypeScript, Firebase and Uploadcare. For styling our app, we are going to use Tailwind CSS and Shadcn UI components. This is going to be a long video. You can also check out the timestamps in the description of the video. Let me show you the demo that we are going to build in this video. Alright guys, so this is how our app looks like. We have a login page and here is the login form. We will go to the sign up. So we can also go to the sign up and this is how the sign up looks like. We can just click and come back to the login. Now let's sign up a user. So we can sign up a user with Google and we can also have an email address and the password. I will try to log in with the Google first. So I'm going to click on the Google. This is going to open a tab here and let me sign it with Google with my Google account. So now you will see that I have already logged in with my Google account. So this is how the home page will look like, where we have the search bar, we have the user stories, and then we have the feeds. So these all are the user feeds where we can also like any of the feed and we can just like or dislike. And then here we have the right hand side where we have the logged in user information and some suggestion friends. Alright, so now we have the other menus, which is the add photos, where a user can add a photos. So let's go and let's add a photo. I will add this is my first photo and we can use the upload files here. So I click on it and you will see that we have this nice uploader here where you can just drag and drop, or you can also upload the images from device and different options are available here. I'm going to click and I will just upload one of the image. So maybe I will upload this image and then I'm click open. And you will see that now the progress bar is running and then we are uploading this image. Once the image is uploaded, this image will be uploaded on the Uploadcare CDN. So it will be available to you on the fly and it will get optimized. You can also have more options here. You can just delete it or you can clear it. You can add more images and you can also edit the image. So you can also do the formatting of the image. So I will just crop the image like this. All right. And with the crop, you can also have the different options here. You can flip the image and everything. All right, so we can just change the image and we can do all this. Apart from that, we can also apply the brightness, exposure and all the formatting, and we can also have some predefined filters here. So we can just choose the filter and that particular filter will be applied. So I'm going to click OK and now we can just click on done and we will be able to see the preview of the image. So this is how we see the preview of the image, and this preview is coming from the Uploadcare CDN. You can also click on it and just remove the image. Now, if I want to post this, I will click on the post and you will see that as soon as I click on the post, I will see the post as the latest post. This is the latest post which I have just posted. I can also like this. All right. And this will increase the count. Now you can also have my photos where you will see the images and the number of likes the image has. Now what we will do is we will just log out and we will just log in with another user. So I'm going to go here and I will just log in with another registered user. So I will have the page @gmail.com and I'm going to give my password and I'm going to click on login, and you will see that now we are logged in. And this time what we will see here that we can just like the photo and we are also storing the preferences of the user, which is the like button. Now we see here as a guest user, and the reason behind is that this user doesn't have a username, so that's why we show it as a guest user. So we will allow the user to have a profile page soon, and then in this profile page user can upload the picture, the profile picture, and user can also have the user information. So that's how we are going to build this. It is going to be a long video and it is going to be interesting. There are tons of concepts that we are going to learn while doing this. We will also see that if I refresh my page, it will also store my user session and it will not kill the session or log me out. So we will do all this using the Firebase. We will have the setup of the Firebase Authentication, and for storing the data, we are going to use the Firestore, where we are going to do all the operations related to our data. And then for all the stuff that is related to the images, where delivering the images or getting the images in different dimensions and different sizes, we are going to use the Uploadcare CDN, and that will help us to deliver the images on the fly, which will be very fast. So if this sounds interesting, then stick around. Also don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss the videos like this one. So let's get started. Alright guys, so I have opened my Visual Studio Code, and first thing we will do is we are going to bootstrap our React application. So I will be using VITE for that. So you can just go to the documentation, and here if you scroll down, then you can just use this command npm create VITE @latest. I also have a complete video on VITE, so if you haven't seen, then you can just find the link in the description of the video and you can just check it out. Alright, let's go back, and I'm going to just paste this and I will hit enter. And now it is asking me that we need to install the following package. So I'm just going to have yes. Alright, now it's asking for the VITE project. So our project name will be photo. So it will be something similar to the Instagram, and then we will be using the package name, and we will be using React. So I will select React, and we will be using TypeScript. So I'm going to select TypeScript, and yes, our project is already scaffold. So what we will do is I'm going to go to the CD photogram, and then I will just install the dependencies. So let's have the npm install, and this is going to install all the dependencies in our project. All right, now all our dependencies is installed. Now if we want to run the application, we can simply use npm run dev. So I'm going to type npm run dev, and this is going to start my application on localhost 5173. So I'm going to copy this, and let's go to our browser, and I will add it, and we see that we have our application here. All right, now what we will do is let's open this application into the Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to go here, and I will just open the folder. So I will click open folder, and I will go to documents, code, and then we will just look for the folder. All right, so we have opened our folder, and let's see what we have. So we have this VITE config file. We are using React, that's why it is having this plugin as React. And we can also do one more thing. We want that whenever we run our application on local, it should automatically start on the browser, and we can also specify the port. So what I will do is I'm going to add a server here. All right, and then I will have the open as true, and this is going to open the app in the browser. All right, and then I can also specify the port. So let's have the port as 3000, maybe 3000. Now I have changed the port. Then we have this tsconfig .node.json file, which contains some compiler option and some configurations. Then we have the tsconfig, where we have all the TypeScript configuration like the target, module resolution, JSX, and everything. All right, then we have the package.json file, which will contain all our dependencies. So currently we only have two dependencies, which is React and React DOM, and the rest all the dependencies are as a dev dependency, especially for the types, as we are using TypeScript for the project. All right, now if we go to the index.html, then in the index.html we have this HTML file, and one thing you will notice that we are using VITE, so that's why you have a script and you load the tsx file as type module. So that's why VITE is a little bit faster as compared to the traditional CRA, which is a create react app. Now if we go to the main.tsx, so let's go to the source folder, and in the source we have the main.tsx, where we have the app component, and then we just have a reference of the root element. All right, then we have index.css, then we have the app.tsx, which contain the standard code. We have app.css, and here we have all the assets. So we can have all our static assets here, and then we also have a public folder where we can also have the public assets. As we are going to use Firebase for this project as a backend, so we will first start by setting up the Firebase. So what I will do is let's go to the browser, and in the browser I'm going to open the console of Firebase. So let's have the console Firebase. I will just open the Firebase console, and here we need to log in. So I will go to the console. I have already logged in, and in this console we need to create our project. So I'm going to click on add project, and my project name will be photogram. All right, I'm going to click continue. I will disable this. I don't need any analytics. Let's create the project. All right, so the project is ready. I'm going to click on continue, and then here what we will do is we need to do the authentication. So we are going to use the web. So I'm going to select web, and let's create our web app. So I'm going to have my web app as maybe same name. I'm going to give the photogram. All right, and then I'm going to click on register. All right, so our app is registered, and now what we need to do is we need to install Firebase into our project. So let's install that. So I'm going to copy. I will go to the terminal. So I'm going to open the terminal, and I will paste it here, and this is going to install the Firebase into our machine. Meanwhile, what we will do is we will also need to add this configuration into our firebase.ts file. So what I will do is let's copy this, and you will have your own configurations. So anyway, after building this project, I'm going to kill this instance, so you will not be able to use the API key or domain. So you need to create your own project, and you have to use your own. So I'm going to go back here. All right, we can see that our Firebase is installed. So I'm going to close this, and now I will create a new file which will be the Firebase. So I'm going to go into the source. I will create a Firebase config.ts, and this configuration will be related to the Firebase. So I'm going to copy and paste everything here. All right, I will minimize this, and here you will see that we have all the configuration which we have just received from here. So I have pasted everything here. Now what we need to do is I'm going to remove all the comments. All right, and since we will be using all this configuration from the .env file, so let's create the .env file as well. So I'm going to go here. I will have .env. All right, and inside the .env file, let's create all different keys. So I will have the first key as API key, and I will go here and I will just copy them. So I'm going to copy all this. I will go here. I will add them here. All right, so we have already created the API key, so we can just have the API key here. Next, we need to create the auth domain. So what I will do is I'm going to go here. I will have the VITE_auth domain, and then we will just assign the value here. So I'm going to assign the value. So quickly I will create all this. Right, so we have set up all the environment variables. Now if we want to use them in our Firebase config, how we can do that, let's see. So what I will do is I'm going to remove everything. All right, now here we are going to reference the environment variables. So what I will do is I'm going to have the import meta. So in Vite you will use import meta, and then you will use env, and then use the key, whatever the key we have. So we have the Vite_API key. So this way you can just add it. So what I will do is I'm going to copy and paste it here. All right, and then we can just add all our keys. So we will go here and we will copy our keys. So I'm going to copy, I'm going to add it here. Then we have the project ID. I will add the project ID here. Then we are going to have the storage bucket. So I'm going to add the storage bucket. Then we are going to have the messenger ID. I'm going to add it message sender ID, and the last one is the app ID. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to add it here. So we have already done the configuration for our Firebase application, and then what we will do is we are also going to use the auth. So for that, what I will do is I'm going to create a auth constant, and then I will have the get auth. So I will have the get auth, and this will be coming from the Firebase. I will just add the app instance here so that we get the auth instance. We will also be using the database. So I'm going to have a DB instance as well created. So we will have the get Firestore, which will be the database. So I'm going to use the Firestore, and I need to pass the app instance. So we have everything, and I will also do a constant export, default export for our app in case if we need the app instance in any of the component. So this is default, so this should be export, and we will also have this name export. So this will be the auth, and this will be the DB. So this is much we need for the Firebase config. The next thing we will do is we are going to use Tailwind CSS and Shadcn in this project so that we can use pre-built components and have our UI. So what I will do is I'm going to go to Shadcn UI. All right, this will be the first link, and we will be installing this in our project and we will be using it. So let's see the documentation and let's see how we can just install it into our project. So we are using Vite. So I will select Vite, and this is how we are going to install it. So first is we have already created the application. Now we need to add Tailwind and its configuration into our project. I'm going to change this to a dark mode. So I'm going to copy this, and now let's go to the project and just add them. So let's go to our terminal. All right, and into our terminal I'm going to go and add it. So I'm going to add it here, and we are going to install the Tailwind CSS. So I'm going to hit enter, and this is going to install the Tailwind into our project. Then once we have it, we are going to instantiate the Tailwind config file. So I'm going to copy, and let's go back here and let's insert the Tailwind config and post css.config. So this is created two different files. One is the Tailwind config, another one is the post css config. So you can see that we have two files here. So if I scroll down, then we have this post config and the other one is the tail config. Now let's go and let's do the third step. In the edit tsconfig JSON file, we need to add a resolve path here. So what we will do is we are just going to copy this two lines, and then I'm going to add it. So let's go here, and I'm going to go to my tsconfig. And in the config file, what I will do is maybe after the module, I'm going to add the base URL and I will add the path. I will just add the comma here. All right. So here we are giving the base URL, and then we are setting the path so that everything, whatever will go into the source / anything, it will be interpreted as @. So this is what the path means here. And then now if we go, then we have to update the Vite config JSON file. And for that, we also need to have a dependency for the types nodes. So let's copy this. this. I'm going to go back, and this is an initial setup which you have to do, but you will see that this setup is a worthwhile when you actually get the components of Shadcn to use it. So I'm going to add it and I'm going to hit enter. All right, I have already done that. Now let's go to the VITE config file, and in the VITE config file we need to add the resolve path. So I'm going to copy this. Let's go to the VITE config, and in the VITE config we are going to add it here, and we have the path here. So we need to import the path. So what we can do is let's copy this and let's add it here. All right, so now we don't have any error, and the last step is now we just need to run the run Shadcn UI init command to set up our project. So I'm going to copy this. Let's go back and let's add it. So I'm going to hit enter, and this is going to execute it. So you will see that would you like to use TypeScript? So we need to provide the values here so that it will create a configuration file based on that. So I'm going to type yes, and we need which style we need. So if we go here and if we see any of the component, so basically what we are doing it here is actually going to generate a component JSON file. So you see that there is a components JSON file. So it is going to generate that file based on the inputs that we are giving here. All right. And after that, if you want to go, let's go to a button, and then you will see that there are two different styles. You have a New York style, and then you have a default style. So I'm going to keep it as default because we are just learning how to use Shadcn into our project. All right. So let's have a default, and then for the base color, we are going to use it as gray. And where is your global CSS file? We are going to keep it as it is, not going to change anything. And for would you like to use CSS variable, we will say yes. And are you using a custom prefix, example TW? So this is basically for merging the classes in Tailwind. So for now, you don't have to worry about it, and we will just keep it as blank, and we will keep it as it is. So let's go and configure components. Let's keep it as it is. We will keep it as it is, and we are using server components. No, we are not using any server components, and then it is going to write our components JSON file for us. All right, so we have this file. Now if we want to check, then that file will contain all the inputs that we have provided. So let's go and let's see. So here you will see that we have provided the style as default, and our configuration, and our CSS into global CSS, our base color, and everything, whatever information we have just provided to it. All right, now if we go back and if we go to the installation, let's go and let's see, have we finished all the steps or not? So we have already done all this information, and then that's all. We can now start using or start adding the components to our project. So if we want to add a button into our project, what we need to do is, so we are just going to use this. So I'm going to copy, and then we are going to add it here. So this is going to add a Shad UI latest add button. And if I hit enter, then you will see that it will install the button, and we can use the button into our project. And where it actually installing, you can just go to the components, and this component folder is automatically created while we were just having this component JSON file. You will see that we have the alias components, and we have a components folder. So this is where the button.tsx got installed. Now you just need to use this button.tsx into your project wherever you want the button style. And there is one more thing, which is the libutil, which is actually contain the TW merge. It's a package that allows you to merge different classes in Tailwind CSS. So we have already set up the project. If we go into package JSON, then we will see that now we have a lot of new dependencies that has been installed, like Lucid React, Tailwind Merge, Tailwind CSS Animate, and we are basically going to use Tailwind and Shadcn to build our user interface. All right, so we have already done our Firebase setup. We have installed Shadcn UI and Tailwind CSS into our project. Now the next thing what we will do is we are going to set up our routes. So let's set up our routes. What we will do is we need to have a React router DOM package. So let's install that. So I'm going to have npm install react router DOM, and I'm going to hit enter, and this is going to install the React router DOM into our project. All right, so it's already installed. Now what I will do is I'm going to run my application, and then I will just minimize my terminal. So I will have the npm run dev, and my application is now starting at 3000. So I will just minimize this now. All right, and now if we go to the browser and if we go to localhost 3000, then we should be able to see our application running. All right, so let's go back to the Visual Studio Code and let's create the pages first. So I'm going to go to my source folder, and inside the source I'm going to create a directory with pages. So let's have the pages here. Now inside the pages, what I will do is I'm going to create my home first. So let me have the home. Inside the home, I'm going to create index.tsx. So right now we will just create our project structure and how our pages will look like into our application. So I will have the home, then I'm going to have the error as well. So in case of an error, we're also going to create an error page. So I will have the index.tsx. In the home, what I will do is I'm using a snippet for the TypeScript React that will help me to write the components faster. So I will have the tsrsc, and this is going to give me the component. So I will have the home, and here what I will do is I will simply create a div and add home here. Then we have this tsrsc, and we are going to have the error, and I will just return the error from here. So let's have the error. I will just minimize my screen a bit. All right, so we have the error. Then let's create another page, and I will go here and I will create a folder which will be the login, and inside that I'm going to create the index.tsx. Let's create the component, and I will have the login, and I'm going to have here div with login. Next, let's create the sign up. All right, I'm going to create a file into this which will be the index.tsx. Let's create the component. I will have the sign up, and I'm going to have a div here. I will have the sign up. Then we will also need the create post. So I'm going to have the post. All right, and to this I'm going to have the index.tsx, and I will have the tsrsc. I will name it as create, and here I will have a div, and I will have the create post. Then we will also need to have one more page which will be my photos. So I'm going to have my photos, and inside this I'm going to have the index.tsx. Let's have tsrsc, and we are going to have the my photos, and I'm going to create a div, and I will have my photos here. All right, and the last page which I feel is we should create profile as well. So I'm going to go here. I will have the profile. All right, and then I'm going to create the index.tsx, and let's have our component which will be profile. I'm going to create a div, and I will have profile here. All right, so we have created all the pages mostly which we need at this moment, and now let's create the route.tsx files where we are going to have all the routes. So what I will do is I'm going to go to my source, and inside the source I'm going to create a file which will be the routes.tsx. So this routes file will contain all our routes. So what I will do is we are going to use the create browser router to create our routes. So let's have the export constant router. This will be equals to the create browser router. All right, so we're going to use the create browser router, and this is going to have an array of the routes, and inside this we are going to create the childs, and here what we can give is I can give the path, and then we can have the login. After that I can have my element, and the element would be the login element. So I have the login component which I will use it as the element, and we can also give the error property here. So if it's an error, then we can give the error element, and here we can give the error component that we have created. All right, so this way we are going to set up the routes. So let's have the another route which will be the sign up. So I'm going to go here, I will change this to sign up as the route. I will have this as sign up, and we will have the error. Now we are also going to have the other routes, so let's go and let's add them. So I'm going to have the home, and here we are going to have our element as home component, and we have the error. Next will be post. So I will have the post here. I'm going to have the create post component and error, and the last one will be the profile. So we need two more. One is the profile and other one is the my photos. So I'm going to have the profile, and here I'm going to have the profile, and the last one will be my photos. So I will have the my photos as the path, and I will have the my photos component here. All right, so we have all this, and now we just need to export this router. So let's export this. So I'm going to go here, and I will have the export default router. Okay, so we have exported the router here, and now what we need to do is we need to use this into our app.tsx so that we can have all our routes. So let's go to the app.tsx, and in the app.tsx I will just remove everything first, and I will create the new component. All right, this will be the app, And here what we will do is we are going to have a router provider. Since we are using the create browser router, we need to use the router provider. So I'm going to have the router provider and we are going to use the route. So let's import the routes that have been created. All right, and now we can give a try. So what I will do is let's run the application. So we are already running the application, so we can just go and check. So I'm going to go here, and if I refresh, then we see that we don't have any page assigned with a slash. That's why we see an unexpected error. All right. And if we go to login, maybe, then we see that we have a login here. So I will zoom a little bit. Then we see we have a login here. And if I go to sign up, we see we go to the sign up. If I go to home, so let's go to home, then we see home. If we go to my photos, then we see my photos. That means our route is working fine. Now, the other thing we need to do is we need to have our routes to be protected. So we will be able to have login and sign up as our public routes. Rest all the routes should be protected. So let's go and let's write the protected routes first. So if we go here, we see the router and we need to make some changes here. All right, but before that, we also need to create a protected route. So what I will do is I will go to the components and I'm going to create a new folder. I will have here protected routes. Now let's understand how we can do the routes protected so that only a logged in user will be able to access those routes. So I'm going to go here. I will have the index.tsx and here let's create the component and we are going to give the name as protected routes. And in the protected routes, what we want is that it will only be accessible to logged in users. So what I will do is I'm going to go and I will have a constant and I will have a is auth and let's give a boolean. I will give a boolean as true for now. Then what I will do is maybe I will just give a type here. And then what I will do is that we need to return and we will return that is auth. If it's true, then in that case we need to return something. If it's false, then in that case we need to return something else. So if it's a false, what we will do is we are just going to navigate the user back to the login. So let's write that first. So I'm going to have a navigate and this navigate will be coming from the React router DOM. So I will have the import navigate. All right. And then I will also use the outlet. So let's have the outlet. So what we will do is that if its is auth is false, then we need to navigate the user back to login. So we are going to have a login here. And we also need to give the state that from which page the user redirected to the login. So for that, we can just give the state, and to the state, what we can do is we can just give it from and we can pass the location. So we can also use the use location hook. So let's have the use location hook, and here I'm going to create a constant location which will be equals to the use location. So this use location hook is actually going to give me the path that is in the browser URL. We will give the location. So this is actually going to tell the login page that from which page it actually got redirected to the login. All right, then I'm going to close this. Now, if the user is logged in, then in that case, we are going to just have the outlet, and this is going to have all the protected routes. So if the user is authenticated, this will only display all the routes that are protected in this protected routes. Now we need to use this protected route and we need to protect our routes in the routes.tsx. So we need to protect home, post, profile, and my photos. So let's go and let's do that. So what I will do is I will go here, and then here I'm going to have one more object, and let's have the element here. And to the element, I'm going to use the protected routes. And on this, we also have another property, which is a children. So here you can pass all the childrens that you want to be protected. So what we can do is this is actually an array. And to this array, we can actually pass the path, and we have the slash first. And for the slash, we need to have the element as home. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to add it here. So let me copy the error element as well. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to add the error element. And in this way, we can just remove and we can put everything inside the protected route. So I'm going to go and I'm going to cut everything. All right. And then I'm going to add it here. All right, and if we scroll, then we only have two public routes, which is login and sign up, and the rest all the routes are under the protected routes. So we will just change this to colon. All right, so we can give a try, but before that, we see that we have an error in the console and we actually added something extra comma here. So I'm going to remove this and I'm going to remove this. So now let's go and let's try. So I'm going to go to the browser and I will refresh it, and we see that we are still in my photos. All right, I will go to the home and we go that we don't have anything related to home. Maybe we change it to slash. So we go to home. All right. And this is because what we have set in the protected route, that is auth boolean, is true. Now let's change this to false. All right. Now, if I change this to false, and now if I want to go to slash, then you will see that I automatically go to login. And if I want to go to maybe my profile, then you will see that I go to the login. So that means our protected route setup is also working. Now, next thing what we will do is we are going to write a context API for our authentication. So we are going to use the Firebase authentication, and for that we need to write our context API. So what we will do is let's create the context API. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to create a new folder. So let's have a new folder, and I will have the context. Inside the context, I'm going to create a new file which will be the user auth context.tsx. Alright, so we will first start by creating the context. So what I will do is I'm going to have a export constant, and here we are going to give the user auth context, which will be equals to the create context. So we have this create context, and we need to provide a type for our context. So for now, let's have a auth context data. So what kind of data this context will hold? So that's where we give the auth context data, and then we need to provide the initial value for our auth context data. So let's create the interface or type for the auth context data. We will be creating the type and not interface, because we are not going to extend this interface. So this is not going to be extend. That's why we will just keep it as type. All right. And then I will have the auth context data. All right. And this auth context data is going to have a user property. And this user is basically, when you use the Firebase authentication, it generates a auth state, and then it returns you the current user which is logged in. So that's where we are going to have the user, and this is of the type user. So we are going to have the Firebase auth. All right. And this will also hold a null value. So I'm going to have the null here. Then we are going to have a login method. So we will have the login, and the type of will be the login. It will say that cannot find login, but we are soon going to write a function for the login. Then we are going to have a sign up. So let's have the sign up, and then we are going to have the type of sign up. Okay, then we are also going to have a logout. So let's have a logout, and then we are going to have a type of log out. All right, so basically this context data is actually the data that is going to be exported from here and will be used by all our components. So that's where we have this sign in, sign out, log out, and everything. And the last one will be the Google sign in. So we are going to have the Google sign in, and then we are going to have the type of Google sign in. So we have this basically the user context data. Now let's immediately create all these functions. So the first one will be the login, and this is going to be an arrow function. So let's create an arrow function. And for the login, we will need two things. We will have the email ID, and we will have the password. The type of the email will be string, and for the password, it will be string. And once we have it, what we will do is we are going to return, and we are going to have the sign in with email and password from the Firebase. And then I'm going to have the auth state which I have created. So if you have remember, in the Firebase config, we have created this auth instance. So we are going to pass the same auth instance here. So we have the auth. So we need to import this auth. So what I will do is I'm going to have the import auth, and this will be coming from the // Firebase config. All right, we have the auth, and along with the auth, we will also need to provide the email address, and then we need to provide the password. So this will help us to log in with the email address and the password. Let's write the second function, which will be the sign up. So I'm going to have the sign up. And for the sign up, we will need the email, we will have the password, and here we will have the create user with email and password. And it is also going to accept the same auth, email, and the password. Okay, so we have to make this uppercase. All right, so the next one will be the logout. So let's have the constant. I will have the logout, and for the logout, we will not require anything, and we are simply going to call the logout function. So what I will do is I'm going to have the sign out, all right, from Firebase, and I need to provide the auth. And the last will be the sign in with Google. So we have the sign in with Google as well. So I'm going to copy and let's create the function. So I will have the constant sign in with Google, and I'm going to have the arrow function. And here I will have the Google Auth provider first. So let's have the Google Auth provider, and this Google Auth provider is from the Firebase. So you will use new Google Auth provider. All right. So we will use the new Google Auth provider. And once we have the instance of Google Auth provider, we are going to return the sign in with Google. So I will have the sign in with pop-up. All right, and we need to provide this Google Auth provider to it. First we will have the auth instance, and then we have the Google Auth provider. So we have written all our functions, and now you see that we don't have any error as well in our auth context. So now what we need to do is we need to create the auth provider. Now we have the auth context. The next thing will be the auth provider. So if you don't know about the React context API, then I have a complete video on it. You can just click on the card above, or you can also check the link in the description of the video. Now since we have this, we need to provide the initial value which we have mentioned. So let's provide the initial value for all this. So what I will do is I'm just going to copy, and I will go here and I will add them here. For the user, I'm going to give the value as null initially, and for the rest we are just going to give the initial as functions. All right, so I'm going to remove everything. So this will be comma, because now this is an object and we are providing the initial value, and I will remove this as well. So we have provided the initial value. Now the next we need to have our user auth provider. So let's create that. So I'm going to have the export constant. I will have the user auth provider, and this will be of type react function component. So I will have the react dot function component, and then we need to pass the type of the prop. So I will have the arrow function, and inside the arrow function we are going to have the children's. So we are going to use this use auth provider, and we need to wrap our app component to it. So that's where this provider is always going to accept a prop as a children. So I'm going to have the children here, and we also need to have a type of it. So let's have the type as I user auth provider props. All right, and this I should be uppercase, so I'm going to change this to uppercase. Now let's copy this and let's create an interface on the top. So I'm going to go here and I will have the interface. So let's have the interface, and this interface is basically the same we have created in every of the component. You see here we have this interface. So we're going to create the same interface. All right, and in this interface we are going to have a prop which will be hey children. So let's have the children, and this children will be of type react node. So I will have the react node. We will scroll down. All right, and now what we will do is we are just going to return our user auth context provider. So what I will do is let's go here and let's have the user auth context dot provider. All right, and this is going to accept the value, and then we are going to pass the children's. I'm going to have the children's here. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm simply going to add the children's here. So we have this, and now we need to pass the value. So let's create this value, what this value will be. So I'm going to have a constant value, and this value will be of type the auth context data. So let's have the auth context data here. All right, and we were just going to pass the same thing. So I'm going to copy, and let's create the value. I'm going to remove the null, and we can just use the value, and we can give the value here. All right, so we have this, and we have created the context provider. Now what we have to do, one more thing, is that we need to create a state variable, and whenever a user is logged in, we need to observe the on auth state changed. So if we go to the Firebase, let's go to the Firebase and let's understand this. So I'm going to go to the Firebase, and there will be on auth state changed. All right, and this on auth state change is basically what the user is going to get back. So whenever a user is logged in, this actually going to listen to this change event, and we will get the user information. So you will see that we have the user information. So this is what we are going to implement it. And once we have that user information, I want to store that user information into a state variable. So I'm going to create a state variable as user set user, and this is going to have a use state. All right, and in the use state we need to provide the type, and the type will be the user, and it could also hold a null value. So until the user is logged in and we get the data from the auth state changed, the value would be null. So that's why we also need to assign a null here. So let's have a null, and we are going to use a use effect. So let's have a use effect. All right, and in the use effect, what we have to do is we need to create an instance, because we are going to listen to the event of on auth state. So what we will do is we are going to have this unsubscribe as a variable where we are going to store the event. So I have the on auth state changed, and to this we need to pass our auth, and this is going to have a callback function which is going to return the current logged in user. And once we have this user, what we will do is we are just going to set the user into the state. So I have the user. And what we need to do is we need to run a cleanup function. So in the use effect, we also have a way to clean up the stuff once we run it. So what I will do is I'm going to have a return, which is going to have a arrow function. And here what we will do is we are just going to have this unsubscribe. All right, so we run this cleanup function. So now we have the use effect. We will also get the logged in user information with this. I will also do one more thing. I will just do a console log so that whenever we run it, we will know the logged in user state is, and we are just going to print that. So I'm going to have the user here. All right, now we have this. Now if we want to use any of the values like user, login function, sign up function, we will be using the use context hook. So what I will do is in the end I will also export that. So I have a export constant use user auth, and that will be equals to the arrow function, and it is going to return the use context. So we have the use context hook, and we will just pass our context here. So user auth context. So now we can just use the use user auth in any of the function, and then we can just destructure the values which we want. If we want user, or we want a login, sign up, or any of the function. So we are already done with our context API, and we can just go through it. What we have done is, so first we created a context API. So here we created the create context, and we defined the type of the data it will hold. Then we have the auth context interface, not interface, the type, which contains all the data. Then we also need to provide the initial value of it. So we have given the initial value here, and we created each of the functions that we have defined here. So type of login, sign up, logout. So we define all the functions, and they will return the functions which are from the Firebase, like sign in with email password, create user with email password, logout, or sign up with the Google. Once we have that, we created the auth provider, which will accept the children as a prop. And then we also have a use effect, which is going to listen on the auth state change and give us the logged in user information, which we store it in our state variable. Once we have all this, we provide the values, which is of type auth context data, and we just provide it. And once we have it, we provide the values to the children. We can fetch those values with the help of use context hook, and we have the use auth context instance. So that's what the context API is, and we have built that. Next thing we need to do is now we need to use this login sign up. So for that, we need to create the UI for our login. So before login, let's go and let's create the UI for the sign up. So what I will do is we go to the page of the sign up, and I actually made this uppercase. So let me change this to lowercase post. So let's go to the sign up, and in the sign up, we are first going to create the UI for the sign up. So we are going to use the Shadcn UI. So if I go back here, if we go here, then we will see we have the examples, and in the examples for the cards, you will see that we have this create an account. So we are simply going to use the UI which is already pre-built. So we are not going to build anything from scratch. So if we want to use this, we can actually go to their GitHub. All right, if I go here, then we can just go to the apps. Then in the apps, we have the app, we have the examples, and we have the cards, and we have different components here. So create login.tsx. So you can simply use this and you will get the UI ready. All right, and for this they are using the card component, input, and the label. Now I will show you how you can install the input, label, and the card. So what we can do is we can go back here, we can go to the components, and let's search for the card. So if I want to install the card into my project, what I will do is I will simply going to have npx shadcn UI latest add card. So I'm going to copy this. Let's go to our project. Okay, and then I'm going to have a new tab, and I will just have the card. Along with the card, I will also have the input and label. So it's done. Now if we go and see in our components in the UI, so we need to move our protected routes into the components. I will just move it yes to all. Then we have the UI, and in the UI we will have all our ZCN UI components. All right, so we have all the components here, and now we can just directly use them into our project. So that's where we are going to build the sign up. So let's quickly build the sign up. So you can also do a copy paste of the code. So if I go here, and you can just simply go and copy this code. I also did the same thing so that I don't write each of the component and the classes. So I will go here, I will go and I will just paste it, and now you will see that we have few errors. So let's fix them. So first let's import one by one. So I'm going to have the card. All right, so the card is imported. Similarly, we will have the card header, then we are going to have the card title. All right, let's have the card description, then I'm going to have the card content. I will have the button, and we will also need the icon. So we will see how we can get the icon. Let's have the label, then I will have the input, and then we will see all this information how we get it. All right, and the last one is the card footer. So let's have the card footer, and we will also need the link. So we can get the link from the React router DOM. So let's go down and let's import the link. So I'm going to have the link from the React router DOM. So we have all this, and what we need to do is we need to create two state variables which is going to handle our email address and the password. So let's go and let's create that. So I'm going to go and create the state. So let's go here, and I'm going to have a constant. I will have the user info, and I will have the set user info, and this is going to have the use state, and we need to provide the type of the state, and then we need to provide the initial value. So I'm going to have a constant here as initial value. So we are going to create the initial value constant. So let's have that. So I'm going to go here, I will have a constant initial value. So the type of this will be user sign in. Now let's have the email, which will be empty initially. Then we are going to have the password, which will be empty initially, and we will also have the confirm password, which will be empty initially. So we have this, and we also need to create the user sign in. So we will create a separate folder for types where we will have all our types. So what I will do is I will go here and I will create a new folder. I will have types here, and then I will have a new index.tsx. So we will just change this to ts, and it is not returning any JSX, so it should be ts. So we have this, and now let's create the interface, and I will have the interface of user sign in, and this should not be equal to, and this will take the email, which will be of type string. It will take the password, which will be of type string, and then it will take the confirm password. So I'm going to have the confirm password, which will be of type string. I will also create the similar interface for the user login. So I'm going to have it, and here I'm going to change this to user login, where we will only have the email and the password. All right, and we need to export this. So let's export. So I'm going to export, and now we can go and we can see that we will have to import here. So I'm going to have the user sign in. So I have the user sign in, and we also have the initial value here, and we can now give the user sign in here. So I will have the user sign in type here. We can just remove the props. We don't have any props at the moment. Now what we need to do is we have this user info and set user info, so that now we will not have any issues with this value where we have the user info.email. And on change, what we are doing is we are just setting the email as event.target.value, and we keep all the other properties as it is with the spread operator. All right, now similarly for the password we have the same thing, and for the confirm password we have the same thing. Now we also have an on submit. So we have a button here which is a type of submit, and then we have the on submit here. So if we go and check, we have the handle submit. So now we need to write this handle submit function. So what I will do is I'm going to go here, I will have a constant handle submit, which will be equals to arrow function, and I will have the async here, and we are going to have a event which will be of type react dot mouse event. All right, and then we need to provide this as an HTML element. So I will have the HTML element. Okay, so we get an error, and this is because this should be HTML form element. So let me have the HTML form element. All right, we have this, and now first what we will do is we will do the event.prevent default so that it will not refresh whenever we submit the form. We have missed the less than sign here. So we have this, and now what we will do is we are just going to have a try catch block. And in this, what we will do is let's have a console.log first. So we are going to have a console log, and I will have the user info is, and then I will just print the user info. So whatever we are typing, I will just print that, and if it's an error, I will just console log the error. So let's have the console.log, and I will have the error, and here I will have the error. Now let's go and let's try. So first we have to do one more thing is we are not able to get the icon. We will also have the Google sign in. So let's write this function as well, handle Google sign in. So I'm going to go here. I will have a constant. I will have handle Google sign in, which is the arrow function. And that is also going to give us an event, which will be a react.mouse event. And we are going to have it on the HTML element. So I will have the HTML element. Okay, and then what we will do is we need to use the event.prevent default. We are also going to have a try catch block here, and let's make this async. Now we have to use the Google sign in as well. Let's go and let's have the icon problem first. So we have these icons here. Now in order to get these icons, what you can do is you can actually copy and paste a icons file from the GitHub repository. So if you go to the GitHub, then you will see that you have components and icons. So if we go and if we see for the components, then in the components we will have the icons.tsx. Now you can just go and copy this file, and then you can have all this GitHub icon, Twitter icon, and everything. So what I will do is I'm just going to download this and put it into my UI folder. All right, so I have copied this icons.tsx from the GitHub. You can also do the same thing, and now we can just import the icons. So what I will do is I'm going to have here icons, and now we will have no problem here. I also have an error here. So okay, so let's have a console log now. So I'm going to have the console log, and I'm going to have the error if there is any error. So I'm going to just log the error. So we have logged the error, and the next thing we need to do is we need to call our Google sign in function, which we have created in our context API. So what I will do is I will go here and I will just do the constant. So let's have a constant, and here I will have the Google sign in, and I will also have the sign up function. So I will have the sign up, and this will be coming from the use user auth. All right, now we can just make use of this Google sign in function. So what I will do is I will go here, I will have the await, I will have the Google sign in function, and once we have a successful sign in, what we need to do is we need to navigate the user to the home page. So we are going to use the use navigate hook for this. So what I will do is I will go here and I will import the use navigate hook. All right, then I'm going to go here and I will have a constant navigate, and this will be equals to the use navigate. Now we can make use of the navigate, and we can navigate the user to the home page. So I'm going to have the navigate, and the user will go to slash. So this will go to the home page. All right, we see that we get an error, and this is because it was a name export. So we have to put curly braces and not the square braces. So we have this Google sign up, and for the other one, the handle submit, what we will do is we can just use the sign up function, and we can just do the sign up for the user. So what I will do is I'm going to go here, and then I will have the await. We are going to have the sign up function, and to the sign up we need to pass the email address and the password so that the user will sign in. So for that I will have the user info, which is my state variable, which has the email address, and I will pass the password. So I'm going to have the password. Similarly, once the user is successfully signed up, then we need to navigate the user to the home. So I'm going to have the navigate slash here. Now we can just give a try. So what I will do is I'm going to go to the browser and I'm going to refresh it. So we see that we are on the login, and I will go to the sign up, and we don't see anything, but we see that we get an error, Firebase error, that auth invalid API key. So let's check what is going on. So I'm going to go back, and here what I will do is I'm going to go to my env file. All right, and in the env we have the API key. Let's match this API key with our Firebase config. So I'm going to have, and we see that we have the same thing. But what I noticed here that I created my env file at the wrong place. So it should be into the root folder, but somehow I created the env file into my source folder. So let's drag and put it in the root folder. Yes, and now we see that it is out of the source folder. Now I think it should work, so let's go and let's check. Okay, so now we see that we have the sign up page which looks something like this, but this is not what we expected. We should have the proper UI because we were using the Shadcn UI, and we should have something this card like structure. So let's go and let's check why the CSS is not applied. So I will go back to the Visual Studio Code. All right, and here what we will do is in the code we will go to the component JSON, because component JSON is the file where we will be able to see that where the CSS is. So here we see that the CSS goes to the globals.css, but if we go and see in the source folder, we don't have any of the file with name globals.css. And this is where we made another mistake, that when we were giving the configurations for the component JSON, we actually have to give here index.css instead of globals.css, because we did not have any file with the name global.css into our project. Instead we have an index.css. So what I will do now is that I'm going to change this to index.css, and to this index.css I will just paste the CSS that we get with the configuration of components JSON. So when you follow this tutorial, make sure that when it asks for your CSS file, you should not use the globals.css. Instead of that, you just rename it to index.css, so that all your styles will be into index.css. So for now I will just do a copy and paste of that CSS. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to add it here. All right, so this is the auto generated CSS that you will get when you have this component JSON file. So now let's go and let's check now. So if I go, and now we see that we have the proper UI of our sign up page. Now if I click on the login, we go back here, and then we have the sign up. So what I will do is first start going with the sign up and testing the functionality. I will also create the login page so that we can test the login and the sign up together. Let's go back, and I'm going to go to my sign up, and we will have a very similar UI for the sign up, for the login as well, but there will be a little bit changes. So I'm just going to copy all those JSX, and I'm going to put that JSX into the login. All right, now we will also need to have the imports. So let's go here and let's have all the imports. So we will need all these imports. So I'm going to copy. All right, and I'm going to paste all the imports here. All right, we have this, and instead of the user sign in, we are going to have the user log in. And if we go to our index.ts, then we have the types here, and we have the interface, which is the user login. So we are going to use the user login as the interface. We will have the same form where we will have the handle submit. We are going to have the same where we will have the Google sign in, and instead of the user info, I'm going to change this to user login info. So what we will do is I'm going to go here. I will take the initial values. I will put it here, and this will get changed to user login. All right, and we don't need a confirm password for login. All right, now I'm going to go here and I will copy the functions as well. So I'm going to copy the functions, copy, and I will put the functions here. All right, now we see that we have the sign up, but instead of the sign up, we see we have the Google sign in, and for the sign up we are going to have the login this time. So I'm going to have the login. We will have the same navigate, and then user info, we are going to have the user login info. So what I will do is I'm going to just select this and I will change all together. All right, this will change to user login info. All right, I will save it. And now if we go and see for the login, okay, we still have some errors. So let's resolve those errors. Now this state will be changed to the user login. All right, we will have the initial value. We're going to have the Google sign in function, which will be as it is. And then once we have the sign in, we will go to the navigate and we will go to the home page. So we are not going to change anything here. For the handle submit, so for this, what we will do is we are going to have the user login info. Here we are going to have the login function instead of sign up, and we are going to pass the email and the password, and then we will have as it is. Let's go and let's check. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go to the login, and we see that this is the login. Okay, but we need to change this to sign up. So let's go bottom. All right, we also don't need the confirm password. So I'm going to remove the confirm password and we will go to the already have an account. So this will change to don't have an account. Then we will just go to the sign up and this will change to sign up. All right, so if we go and check, then we go to the sign up. Oops, I made a typo here. So this will be sign up. So if I refresh, if I log in, so from the login, if we click here, we go to sign up. If we click on log up, then we go to the login, and this should be log in, not log up. So let's change that as well. So I'm going to go here. I will expand this and here it will be login. All right, so now we have both the pages. We have the login and we have the sign up, but the login page will look a little bit different and it will not look something like this. So we need to add some more CSS styling to it and also some of the JSX we need to write for the login. So let's go to the login and let's write that. So I'm going to go here and what we will do is we are going to have this one. Now we are going to create two different structures. So we are going to have two columns. So what I will do is I'm going to remove all this and here I'm going to give the background slate 800. I will have the full width. I will also have the height for the screen. All right, and then what I will do is I'm going to have another div. So I'm going to put this and put it here. Okay, then for this div what I will do is I'm going to have the class name as container. I will have the max auto so that I have the equal margin on both the side on x-axis. Then I'm going to have the padding and I will have the height as full. All right, after that what I need to have is I will have another div. All right, I will cut this and put it here, and on this div I'm going to use the flex box. So let's have a flex. I will have all my content to be in the center. I will also have my content to be vertically centered, so I'm going to use the item center and I will take the full width. Then we need to have two different divs inside that. So I already have one div, so let's create another div here, and to this div what I will do is I'm going to give the padding as 6. I will have the width of this div as 2/3 of the whole screen and I will put it hidden. So this div will be hidden, but it will only be visible for the large device. So I'm going to give the LG block, and then I'm going to have a div, and on this div I'm going to use the grid because I'm going to put some images and I want those images into grid. So I will have the grid box. I will have the grid column as 2, then just provide the grid gap as maybe 2. All right, and once I have this, what we will do is we can just put some images here. So I'm going to have an image. I will put some class name to the image. Then we are going to have the source to the image. All right, so we made a mistake that we are putting this code in the sign up instead of the login, but that's fine. We will just have the login and the sign up as it is. They will be identical in the UI. So let's continue to have it. So now we need to have the images. So if I go to the assets and images, then you will see that I have few images here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, these are some random images which I am just using for my project. So let's import them. So what I will do is I will go here and then I will import those images. So I will have the import image1 that will be coming from the @/ I will have the asset, I will have the images, and then I will have the image1. Now I'm going to import all the 4 images. So I will have the copy 2, 3, 4. All right, and I will just change the numbers. And I will also change the numbers here. All right, so I have all the images now, and now let's use them. So I'm going to use the image2. All right, and for the CSS I'm going to give the CSS as let's use for this image I need to have my width as 2/3. All right, I need to have height as auto, then I need to have the aspect as video, and I will have the rounded. So I want the round edges to the image, and then I'm going to have the place self, and I will put the place self as end. All right, so I have this for the image 2, and I'm going to copy and I will also put it for the image 4. So I'm going to change this, and this will now change to image 4, and the rest I'm going to keep it as it is. Now we can go and test. So if I go to the browser, if I go to the sign up, then we see that we have these 2 images. All right, and now let's have the other images as well. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to add it. So I will have the image as 2 here, and for this one I'm going to change the image as 1. I'm going to change the image as 4, and this will change the image as 3. And I want to keep the same image styling for image 2 and 4. So for image 2 and 4 we have the same styling, but instead of the video I'm going to just change this to auto, and this will be video, and this will also be auto. Let's go and let's check. Okay, we see the images, but these images are randomly placed. So let's change them. So I'm going to change this to 2 by 4 and let's have this 2 by 4. And I will change this so it should not be in the end so that it will come on the left hand side. All right. And I will also remove this so that they all come in the same. All right. So we get this properly now. We have all the 4 images here and we also have the sign up page. Let's change the button here. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to change the button to sign up instead of login. So let's go down and this button will be sign up. Content in the center of the screen. So what we will do is we are just going to add a flex here and it should work fine. So we will see that we have it now. We can also put the same thing on the login page as well. So what I will do is I'm just going to copy. All right. So I will copy this and I'm going to put it here. So where we have this one. All right. I'm going to put it here. We are just going to take the images. So I'm going to copy the images and I'm going to have the images here. So I will go here and add the images. All right. And then I will also need to have these 3 divs. So I'm going to copy and I will go here and I'm going to have the 3 divs, but I'm going to just cut this and put it here. All right. I'm going to remove this div and we need to add 2 divs at the end. So let's close those divs. All right. So we have closed the divs and now if we go and see, then yep, we messed up. So let's fix that. So we see we have one closing div here and we need to put that closing div here. All right, so now let's go and let's check. So we see that this looks nice now. If we can go to sign up and we can also have the login. So our sign up and the login UI is complete. Now let's give a try to sign up a user. So what I will do is I'm going to go to the console, clear the console, go to the sign up, and let's try with the Google sign in first. So I'm going to click on the Google. All right, and we see that we get an error, Firebase entry, Firebase auth operations are not allowed. So maybe we did not enable the sign in methods in our Firebase console. So let's go there. I'm going to go to the authentication, and in the authentication, let's go to sign in method. We need one as email and the password. So I'm going to enable it and I will save it. All right, I will also add the Google sign in. So I'm going to go to the Google, enable it, and now I will save it. All right, so now we have both the sign in methods enabled. Now let's give a try. So what I will do is we are going to go back here and then I'm going to go to the Google and we are going to select my account. And we see that we come back to the login, but if we go to the console and let's refresh and let's see that whether the user is signed in or not. But we see that the user is signed in, but we have some problem. We went back to the login instead of going to the home page. So let's go and let's see what happens. So if I go back to the Visual Studio Code and we have our context API here. All right. And we just need to see that whether we have provided the context API to our app component or not. All right, so let's go to the app, and here we made a mistake. We did not wrap our router provider with the context provider. So let's go and let's do that first. So what I will do is I will go here and I will import the user auth provider and we will just wrap this. So I'm going to cut it and put it here, and then I'm going to have the brackets and I will have the brackets here, and now it should work. So let's go back here and we will just have the Google sign in. So I will go to the sign up, I will do the Google sign in, I will go here and we see we go back to the login. So that means the user is signed up successfully. Now let's give a try. So I will log in with the user and I'm going to click on my account and we still see we go to the login page. So let's go and let's check our protected routes. So what I will do is I'm going to go here and where I'm on protected routes here. So we will go here and we see that we have a boolean as false. So every time it will be false and it is going to take us to the login page. So what we can do is just we can have a constant, and here we can have our user, and this will come from the user auth. All right, and now we can make use of this user. So if we have this user, then we will go to the outlet, otherwise we will go to the login page. Let's go and let's check. So I'm going to click on Google sign in again, and then we will just select the account, and we see that this time we go to the home page. That means we are able to log in and then we go to the home page. Let's go back and let's check the other sign in method as well. So I'm going to sign in by email address. So I will have the page@gmail.com. I will give the password. I will have the password here and I'm going to click on sign up. So this is sign up is successful, and we go to the home, and if we go here and if we refresh, then we should be able to see another user with email address and password. All right, so our authentication is working fine, but there is one problem here. If we refresh our page, you will see that we will just logged out. So if I refresh it, then we log out even though we have the user details. So you see that we have the user information, but still we log out. And the reason behind this is that if we go to our Visual Studio Code, and if we go to the context API, and if we go here, then we see that we have this event listener, which is on auth state change. But every time when you refresh the page, this on auth state change event listener will get fired, and before it gives you the user information, your UI just get renders. So the UI for our protected routes will get rendered before we get the actual information of the user. So we just need to hold our JSX until we get the user information so that it will not log out. So what I will do is there are multiple ways to do that. You can also have a loading state where you will see that if you don't have the user, you will just have a loading information, or you have a loading state. Once you have the user, then only you will just have your JSX to be rendered. So for that, what I will do is I will handle it using a npm package, and that package will just help me to give the loading state and the user information. So we are going to use the react-firebase-hooks. So if we go to the npm, and if we see, then let's go to the npm, and I will look for the react-firebase-hooks. All right, so we have this react firebase hooks, and we just need to install this. Once we install it, we are going to get the loading state and the user information. So let's install this. So I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to go to the terminal, and I will have it here. All right, so this is going to install the react firebase hook. Now we have this installed. Now we can make use of it. So I will go here and I will just import it. So I'm going to have the import, and for this hook, I will have the use auth state. So this is the export that is provided from our hook. So I will have the react firebase hook. And now what we will do is we are not going to use this. Instead of that, I will have a constant. Let's have the auth instance. So this will be coming from the get auth, which is from the Firebase auth. And this use auth hook gives us two states. First is the user, and next one is the loading. So I'm going to use the use auth state. And what I will do here is that I will simply have that if I have a loading state, all right, then in that case, I'm going to return. So let's return a simple JSX. I have a div, and I'm going to have dot loading. All right, so if we have a loading state as true, then in this case we will show the loading. But if we have the user, then in that case we are going to display this outlet, and if the user is null or if the user is not available, we will navigate the user to log in. But to this use auth state, we need to pass our auth instance. So let me have the auth instance here. All right, now we have done this. Let's go and check. So I will go back here. I will go here, and I see that we have a issue. All right, so we need to have the /auth where we will get the use auth state. So now we go and check. So what I will do is I will log in with the email and password. I will have my password, and I'm going to click on login. And you see, once we log in, we go to the home page. But now in this case, if I refresh it, you will see we have a loading, and then it will get the home. So that's how we fix this problem of authentication. Whenever we refresh our page, our user will not log out, and it will be staying logged in. All right, so we have done with our authentication module, and the next part we are going to do is we are going to design the pages that a user will see after the user gets logged in. All right, so now what we will do is first we are going to design a layout of our page, and then we are going to have the content into it. So let's go to our Visual Studio Code, and in the Visual Studio Code, okay, so in the protected route, I will just remove this. We are not using it anymore, and now we are going to design the layout first. So let's go to our components, and inside the components, what I will do is I'm going to create a new folder, and that folder will be layout. Inside the layout, I'm going to create an index.tsx. all right, let's create the component, and I'm going to name the component as layout. Now in the layout, what we will do is we are going to have three sections for our main layout page. One will be the sidebar navigation item, then we're going to have the center main content, and then we're also going to have a right side column. So let's have the JSX here for our three layout structure. So what I will do is I'm going to have a div. I will give a class name of flex, and then I'm going to give the background color as white. Inside that, I'm going to first have the aside, then I'm going to have another div which will be the main content, and the last one will be again the aside, which will be the right hand side. Now the first sidebar, we're going to give some classes here where we will have the flex. We're going to give the gap x as 4. All right, we are going to give the background gray, and we are going to use the gray as 800. Then this will be a fixed position, so it will be the fixed. Then we are going to give the top as 0. We will have the left as 0. We are going to give the z index as 40, and then we will give the width. So for the larger devices, I want to give the width as 60, and we want the height should be the screen height. So we are going to have the h screen. All right, so this one we have done it for our sidebar menu, and inside this we are just going to have our sidebar. So let's create that component. So I'm going to go here. I will have the sidebar, and inside the sidebar I will have the index.tsx. Let's create the component for the sidebar. I will have the sidebar. All right, and this is going to return a simple JSX which will be a sidebar. So I will have the div. I will have the sidebar. All right, now we can just use this sidebar here. So I will have the sidebar. So this one will be the sidebar. Now let's go and check. Okay, we will not see anything because we have not used our layout anywhere. So what we will do is I will go to the home and I will use this sidebar. So I will go to the home, and here I'm going to use the layout. So let me have the layout component. So I will have the layout, and in this layout I will just put the home, and we need to give the brackets here. So I'm going to cut it, put the bracket here. All right, and now we can check. So we see that we have a layout here and we have this as a sidebar. All right, so if we just make the screen size smaller, then the width of the sidebar also changes. All right, now let's go back to our layout, and then for the main screen what we need to do is I'm going to give the class name, and since we are using the position as fixed, we need to give some margin. So let's have that for the largest devices, the margin left will be the same as the width which we have used. So we have used the width as 60. We want to give the same margin here. Then we will give the margin right as 60 because the right hand side bar is also going to be a fixed, so we are going to have that as well. So what I will do is I'm going to use the classes here, and I will use the same thing here. So I will have the same as background color and everything. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to put it here. But one thing is that this right side will only be visible on the larger devices and not on the smaller devices. So what I will do is I'm going to put it as hidden, and only for the large devices I'm going to make it as block, and this will contain the user information. So the user list, as in this will contain all the registered users, where you will have the list of users and you can see that which user is following you or which user you can follow. So that's where we are going to have this as a user list. So for now I will just create the component for the user list as well. So I will go to the components, and inside the component I'm going to have the user list. So I will have this user list. Oops, I misspelled it. So it should be user. All right, and to this user list I'm going to create an index.tsx, and let's have the user list. So I will have the user list, and I can use this user list here. So I will have the user list, and on the main content we have this margin left 60, margin right as 60, and we are going to give the padding as 8, and we're going to use the flex one so that it will take whatever the available width in between is, and we are going to give the margin left as 36. Then it is going to render the children's in between. So let's have those children's. So I'm going to have the children. All right, now we need to use those children's as a prop. So let's have the prop here, and I will have the children here. Now these are the props. We need to define the children here in the prop. So I will have the children, and the type of those children will be react node. All right, so we have this layout, and now we should be able to see both left side and the right side. So if I close this, I don't see anything here, so that means there is some problem. So let's go and let's check. So we did the copy paste here for this one. So the top will be 0. This should be right, not the left. So this will be right. And now we see that we have both the layouts. We have the right side and we also have the left side where we will have the sidebar. Now let's work on the sidebar where we will have all the menu items. So I'm going to go back to the sidebar component, and I'm going to work on this sidebar component. Alright, so on this sidebar, what we will do is let's create a constant and create an array of the navigation that we need to use. So let's have our nav items array. Alright, and here what we will do is we are going to have the objects. So first I will have the name and I will name it as home. Then I want to give the link. So I will have the link as slash, and third one will be the icon. So we are going to display the icon as well. So now to get the icons, there are two ways to use it. One, you can directly have the icon as icon from your Lucid React. So if we go to the package.json file, so let's go to the package.json file, and here you will see that we have the Lucid React. So this also provides the icons. So if I go back and if I show you here Lucid React icons, then you will see that we have tons of icons which we can use it. But there's another way. If you're using a Tailwind, then you can also use the hero icons, and in the hero icons you will see that you have multiple icons. So I'm going to go home, then you will see you have the home icons. Now we will use both, so that I will show you both the methods, how you can use both type of icons into your project. First, let's go with this hero icons. So here it will provide you two ways. You can either copy the SVG or you can copy the JSX. So I will copy the SVG and I will paste it. Now, if you copy the SVG, how you can do that, go back to our Visual Studio Code, and here you will see that in the assets, I have the icons. So I created a file, maybe the home SVG, and I just paste the content which I just copied. So this way you will see that I have now got all my icons here. Now let's use those icons. So I will go to the sidebar and I will import all the icons first. So I will have the home icon, and this will be coming from the @assets icons, and I'm going to have the home SVG. All right, I'm just going to copy and paste for the other icons as well. So next will be, I'm going to have the add icon, and I'm going to change this to add. Then I'm going to have the direct icon. I'm going to change this to direct. Then I'm going to have the log out. I'm going to change this to log out, and I will just name it as icon. Then I'm going to have my photos icon, and I'm going to change this as my photos. Then I'm going to have the settings icon. I will change this to settings. All right, we have two more, so I'm going to copy and add them. So one will be the notification icon, and this will get changed to notification.svg, and the last one will be the profile icon, and this will get changed to profile. So we have all this, and now let's go and let's add them in our nav items. So I'm going to copy, I'm going to add my nav items. All right, and now let's change them. So first one will be the home icon. Then I'm going to have the add photo or photos, and this will be changed to the post. And here I'm going to have the add icon. Then I'm going to have the my photos. This will be my photos, and here I'm going to have the my photo icon. All right, then I'm going to have the profile. So this will get changed to profile, and I will have the profile icon. Next, I will have the notifications. So let's have the notifications, and for this we don't have any page, so I'm just going to use it hash, and we are going to have the notification icon. Then we are going to have the direct. We don't have any page, so I'm going to put hash, and we are going to have the direct icon. Then we are going to have the settings. We don't have any page. I'm going to put hash. We will have the settings icon. All right, and for the logout, we are not going to use it from the nav items because we need to call a function on the logout as a logout function. So that's why we will only have these nav items. Now let's go and use them. So what I will do is I'm going to have my JSX here, and to the JSX we're going to have the nav. All right, and to the nav let's give some class names. So I'm going to use the flex. I will have the flex column so that we have the menus in a column structure. I'm going to use the space x2. All right, we're going to use the position relative. I will have the screen height as h screen, and I will have the width as max width for a smaller screen, so max WSM. Then I'm going to have the full width, so let's have the full width. And inside this nav item I will create another div where we are going to have our logo. So what I will do is I'm going to have a class name as flex. Then I'm going to have the justify content center, and I'm going to give the margin as 5. Let's have a div here, and in this div I will have our application name logo as photogram, and let's give the text color. So I will have the text as white, and the text size will be large. All right, so we can go and check. Then we see that we have our logo now. Now below the logo, we are just going to render the list of all our nav items. So what I will do is I'm going to have the curly braces. I will have the nav items dot map, which is going to give us the item. I'm going to have the arrow function, and in this I will have a div. All right, let's give the class names to the div, and I will also give a key here, and this key will be the item dot name. And inside this I'm going to have the link tag. So let's have the link tag, and that link will have a to, where I'm going to give the item dot link, and inside that I'm going to have a span which is going to have my icon, and then I'm going to have another span which is going to have my item name. So this will be the item dot name. We can go and check. We see that we have home, add photos, my photos, profile, and all the nav items, but we need to make and change the colors. So what I will do is we can go here and let's give some class names. So here we need to combine the class names, and each of my menu items should have a style like a button. So what I will do is we will have to use a combine utility for combining the class. So you will see that when we install Shadcn into the project, we actually got a util folder. So if I go and we see library util, where we have a function export cn, which is actually going to use the tw merge, which is the Tailwind classes merge, and it's going to merge all the classes that we provide. So we're going to use that. So what I will do is I'm going to have a cn function here. All right, and this function is going to merge the classes. So I want the look to be like a button, so I'm going to use a button variant. So we have a button variant, and inside button variant, what I will do is I'm going to give my variant, and my variant will be the default. And now we can give more class names here. So the other class which we need to provide is conditional. So we need to have an active state of our nav items. So if a nav item is active, we want to make it in a different color, while the rest which are not active, they will be in a different color. So what I will do is how I will identify that which route or which nav item is currently active. We can do it using the path name from the use location hook. So what I will do is let's import the use location hook. So I will have the use location hook. And here if I go, and what I will do is I'm going to have a path name from this use location hook. So we're going to have the use location, and that use location will give us the path name. All right, so I can go here and I can have here the condition that if the path name is equals to item dot link, then in that case I need to apply some css. If not, I need to apply some other css. So if it is equal, that means that link is an active link. So for the active link, what I will do is I will have the background color as white. Oops, this should be bg. I will have the text as white 800. Then when we hover on that, in that case I will change the background, and that will be white, and we will have the rounded as none. All right, but if the link is not an active link, we see there is an error, so we actually add a typo here. But if it's not an active link, in that case what we will do is if we hover the non-active link, we are going to change the background as slate 950, and the text color for that will be text white, and normally it will be transparent if we are not hovering it, and we are going to have the rounded none. All right, so we have this. If we go and check, then we see that this is the active link. If we click on add photos, then oops, we will not have it because we need to provide the layout here. All right, so for now only home we will see, and we also need to have the icon here. So let's put that. And the last class we need to add is I will also need to add the justify start. So I want all the menu items to be at the start, so I will have the justify start. So now you will see that what this cn will do, it's going to take all the different css, and then it's going to merge all those classes. So that's what the cn function is doing here. Now we will go down, and for the link item, what we will do is we are going to provide a class name as flex. And for the first span, we are going to have our image tag. So I'm going to have the image. I will provide the source, and source will be the item dot icon. All right, we are going to give the class name. We want the icon width should be 5 and height should be 5, and we want the margin right to be 2. All right, and let's put the alt tag as well. So for the alt tag, I'm going to have my item dot name. All right, so now let's go and let's check. So if I go here, then you will see that we have the icons, but I want to change the color of that icon. So let's go and let's do that. So what I will do is I'm going to go here and I will put a style here, and in the style what we will do is I'm going to use the filter attribute. So let's have the filter, and here what I will do is let's have a backtick. I will have the condition here. So if we have the path name, that means for the active link, so this will be equals to the item dot link. So for the active link, what I want is I want to do an invert 0, and for non-active link what I will give is I'm going to just do the invert 1. So I will have the invert 1. All right, now if we go and if we see, then this is what we see now. So for the active, I want to have a black color because the background will be white, but for all the non-actives, I want my icon color to be white. So we have done with this. Now we only need to add the logout button here. So what we will do is we are going to use the same styling for the logout as well. So what I will do is I'm going to go here, I will copy this whole block and I will just put the whole block here. All right, and here what I will do the changes is that instead of the item dot link, I want to check for the slash login. We don't need a key because this is not going to be a list. And here we will go to the slash login. So when you click on a logout, you have to go to the login page. Now we need to give the source. For the source, what we will do is we are going to have the logout icon. Alt, we are going to give the alt as logout. So let me have the logout, and here I will have the login. So slash login. All right, and here what I will do is I'm simply going to have the logout. So let me have the logout, and I will also need to have an on click. So when you click on the logout button, you need to log out. So what I will do is I'm going to have the on click, and on click you need to call a logout function. So we already have a logout function in our context API. So if we go to the context API, we see we have a logout. So let's use that logout. So what I will do is I will go here, I'm going to have a constant, then I'm going to have the log out, and this logout will be coming from the use user auth. All right, let's use that. So I'm going to go here, I will have the logout, and I will save. Now let's go and let's try. All right, so we see that we have the logout here, but we see that we have a little bit gap here. So let's check what that gap is. So I'm going to go to the inspect, then we see that we have a bit of margin there. So this space, what we can do is we can just remove this. We will not use it. So I'm going to just remove that. All right, so now it should work as expected. So we see that we have this one. Now what we will do is we are going to put the layout in all our pages, like add photos, my photos, and profile. Let's go back and let's put our layout in all the pages. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to close this. So let's start from the home. So home, we already have that layout. So I'm going to copy this. Then I'm going to go to the my photos. I'm going to add it here. All right, and this will get changed to my photos. Then I will also go to post. I'm going to add it here. This will get changed to create post. Then profile, I will change this, and this will get changed to profile. All right, and we need to import the layout. So let's have the layout imported. So I will have the layout here. We already imported, here we already imported, and here we already have it. So let's go and let's check now. So if we go to photos, we have the create post, my photos, we have profile, notification will not work, direct and settings will not work. And if we click on the logout, we should go to the login page. So if I click on it, we go to the login page. All right, let's log in. So I'm going to have the page @gmail.com. Then I will have the password, and I will go to the login. All right, so we have already done with our layout and nav item. The next we will do is we are going to work on the add photos, where we are going to have a form and we will have the caption for the photo, and then we will just see how we can upload photos into our application. So this is going to be a little bit interesting because we are going to use Uploadcare to upload the photos. All right, so let's go back to Visual Studio Code and let's work on the create post. So I'm going to go back to Visual Studio Code, and here let's go to the post. All right, so this is the create post, and the first thing is let's create the JSX first. So what I will do is I'm going to remove this, and here I will have a div. So I'm going to give a class name to the div. So I will have the flex, and I will have justify center. Then I'm going to have a div with the class name, and for this I'm going to give the border. Then I will need the max width, and the max width will be 3xl. All right, then I will give the width as full. All right, and then I'm going to have an h3 tag where I will have the create post. I will give some classes to it. So for the h3 I will have the background slate 800. Then I'm going to have the text as white. The text should be in the center, and the text size will be large, and I'm going to have the padding as 2. All right, if we go and we see, then we have this one, but the text color is not white. So let's check why the text color is not white. So we did a typo here. So now we have the white color. Now for the other thing, what we need to do is we have this div, we have the h3, and now we will create a form here. So let's have a div. I'm going to have a class name. I will give the padding as 8, and into this I'm going to have the form, and inside the form I will have another div where I will give the class name as flex, and I will use the flex column. So I want all my elements of the form should be in a column structure. So I will have the flex call. All right, then I will use the label. So we are going to use the label from our Shadcn components. So we will have the components UI label. I will give the class name to the label. I will have the margin bottom as 4, and the label name will be photo caption. I will also use the HTML for, and this will be for the caption. All right. So we see that we have the photo caption label. Now we need to give the text area below that. So let's have the text area, and we are going to use the Shadcn. So we need to install the text area. So what I will do is we will go, and if we go here, then I will just install the text area. So we can just use npx Shadcn add, and we will add the text area. Right. Oops, we see that the selected component not found or existing. So let's go and let's see how we can install it. So if I go here and let's see what is the exact name. So if I go to text area, I will click on it, and this is how we install. Oh, it should be lowercase. I just added the uppercase. So I'm going to go. All right, I will copy, and or maybe I will just change this to small. All right, so now it's installed, and now we can use the text area in the project. So I will have the text area, and to the text area, let's have the class. I'm going to give the margin bottom 8, and on the text area, what I will have is I will have the ID. So we will be using the ID as caption, because for the label we have already given the HTML for caption. Then I will have the placeholder. So the placeholder value will be what's in your photo. Then after the text area, what we want is we need to have a div. We will give the class name. So I'm going to have the class as flex call. All right, then I'm going to have the label for my photos. So let me have the label. I will give the class name. I will have the margin bottom as 4, and this label will be for the photos. So I will have the HTML for photo. All right, and I will have the photos here. So let me have the label as photos. All right, then I will just close the div, and just below the div we are going to use the button, and this button will have a class name, and I'm going to give the margin top as 8 and width as 32. All right, I will give the type, and the type of the button will be submit, and I'm going to close the button, and we are going to have the value as post. So I have a div where I want to close this div here. All right, then I will have another div, and that will get closed here, and then I have a div. So I just need to remove this div. All right, so now we have the errors are gone. We had some issue with the divs. So now let's go and let's check. So if I go here and if I see, then this is how our form looks like, and we will type anything here, and then we will upload our photos from here. All right, but before doing that, we need to build this upload functionality. So that's where we are not going to build anything related to the upload functionality. Instead of that, we are going to use Uploadcare. So let me give you a walkthrough of what is Uploadcare and how we can integrate it into our React project so that it will just manage all the file handling part for us. So I'm going to go to the Uploadcare. So this is the official website of the Uploadcare. So we will be using Uploadcare for handling the files and the photo uploads, and it basically provides a file uploader to us, which will ease our lives and make it extremely smooth to upload, store, transform, optimize, and deliver images, videos via CDN. So when we upload the image, it will go to the Uploadcare CDN, and then from there it will be served. So it will be very fast, and it's very easy to integrate the Uploadcare into our project. And in just few minutes, we will have the complete file uploader UI where you will see all the loading state and everything. And it's a very lightweight, light speed, customizable. So let's see how we can use it. So you just need to sign up, and once you sign up, you will go to the dashboard. So I have already created an account. So I will go to the dashboard, and this is how the dashboard will look like. In the dashboard, what we will do is we are first going to create a project. So my project name is photogram. All right, so this will also ask that allow search engine indexing. We will just check it, and then we will click on the create. So now this has created our new project, and now when we click on it, you will see that how we can use it. So right now this is empty because we did not upload any of the files here. So we can just click on get started, and here it will show you that how you can integrate the uploader into our application. We are using React, so we will just select the React, and first we will need to install the uploader library. So let's use that. So I'm going to copy. Let's go to the Visual Studio Code, and let's open the terminal, and I'm going to install it. So I'm going to hit enter, and this is going to install the uploader library into our project. All right, we have that. Next, what we can do is we can just insert the uploader in our page. So we can just insert it like this. You have a ready-made code. You don't have to do anything. You can just use it. Then what we will do is we are using TypeScript. So let's add this types. So it will provide us the types for the Uploadcare. So I'm going to go to the Visual Studio Code. Let's go to the TypeScript configuration file. This is the TypeScript configuration file. And here we will just go at the end, and then we will just include it. So what I will do is I'm going to go here and I will add it here. All right, we have that. And once you have that, what you can do is your uploader is already configured. So they also have some examples. So they have these different examples, and we are just going to use this file upload form. So let's open that. And here is a complete example how you can use it into your project, like this upload button, and you will get this UI. So let's go and let's do that. What I will do is I'm going to go to this components, and I will use the file uploader.tsx. So I'm going to create a file uploader into my project. So let's go. I'm going to minimize this. All right, I will go on the components section, and here I'm going to create the file uploader. So I'm going to click here. Let's have a folder as file uploader, and inside the file uploader, I'm going to create a file as index.tsx. So now let's create this component. So I'm going to have the component, and I will name it as file uploader. All right, and on this file uploader, what we will do is we are going to use if we go back here, we will have to use this one. We will just import these two statements. So I'm going to copy. All right, and I'm going to put it here. Okay. And then what we need to do is we need to register the web component. So it's using a web component, this LR, and we need to register this block. So I'm going to use this LR register block. Let's go here and let's add it here. Now we have already registered, and it also gives us two different components. One is the LR config and one is the LR file uploader. The LR config is basically the configuration where you will have your public key for the project. I'm going to remove this project after I just record the video. So you need to have your own. So even though if you use this, it will not work for you. Now what we can do is we have this LR config, which has a name property on that, which is my uploader, and we just link this my uploader with the LR file, which is the uploader regular. So you can just copy this and put it in your code. So I'm going to copy this, and I will go to my code, and here I'm going to just add it. So I have this. Now let's go and let's try it. So what I will do is I have already added these two files and these two components. Now we can just use the file uploader into our post. So I will go to the post, and here what I will do is I'm going to have the file uploader. All right, so we can use that, and let's give a try. So if I go here, then you will see that I automatically have my upload files, and when I click on it, I get this nicely developed widget, which will just make it easy for me to upload my files. I can just do drag and drop. I can just upload the images from device, from link, camera, Dropbox, Google Drive. So let me give you a try. So let's say if I want to upload an image, I will select an image, and it will just have a progress bar, and it will upload the image. Now once the image is uploaded, it also provides us the tool to do the edit. So you will see that I can just crop the image as I want. I can also have apply some filters like brightness, exposure, gamma, and I can also have some pre-built filters, like if I change the filters, then it will automatically apply it on the image. So that's how the Uploadcare library is powerful. So I can select it, I can also remove it, and I can also clear it, or I can also delete it. Let me click on done. Once I click on done, you will see that if I go back here and if we go to the files, we will see that we have the files here. Now it is not just the upload of the file, but on the fly it also optimizes these files. So you will see here on the fly it optimized the JPEG image to the AVIF, which just has 11.4 KB, so it's 97% optimized image. And now if you want to access this image, you can simply access this image via the CDN link. So here you will see that we have the link. So I'm going to copy, I will go here and I will just put it here and I will hit enter, and you will see that this is how the image is delivered via their CDN link. So it is extremely fast, and the best part is that you also have the operations here. So you can just change the operations and you can just have the image resizing and all the filters, like you have all the image transformation. So if I want the image to be 200 by 200, then I will just change the preview and I will give the dimensions, and if I hit enter, then you will see the image is automatically got 200 by 200. All right, so we have this. Now if we want to customize our UI, so this is how the UI looks like, and if we want to customize it, what we can do is you have this file uploader where you have a complete widget and you can just change the look and feel. So if you want a minimal, then you can select minimal. If you want model, you can select the model. All right, you can also change the theme. You want a light theme or a dark theme. I will prefer the light theme. You want the image editor or not, you can just have a toggle here which will give you a feature of image editing. Then you can click on next, and you can also define the sources, from which sources you want to allow the user to upload the images. So if I click here, then you will see that it will automatically start increasing. So I'm going to just remove all this, and then it also provides some validation stuff, that what type of the files or sizes which we can upload it. We want a single upload or we want multiple uploads, and then once you have it, you can just use React and you can use this configuration and you will get the exact uploader which you have just configured here. So that's deep customization they are providing. So it's highly customizable and we can just use it according to our needs. So let's go back to our Visual Studio Code and let's work on that. So what we are going to do is, so we have the file uploader added here. The next thing what we will do is we are going to create an interface for our post. Let's go to the type, and here we are going to create an interface. So I will have the export and I will have the interface as for the post. And for this, what I will have is I will have the caption, which will be of type string. Then I will have the photos. All right, and I will give the photo as type as photo meta, which is actually going to contain the meta information of the photos that we have. Then we are going to have the likes for our post, and the likes will be number. Oops, there should be colon. And then we are going to have the user likes. So this will be an array which is going to store the user ID, that which user has liked the post, so that we have a track of it. Then we are going to have the user ID, which will be a string or it can be a null. All right, and then we are going to have the date. So let me have the date. Now we need to create this photo meta. So let's have that. So I'm going to have the export interface photo meta, and this is going to have the CDN URL that we will get it after we upload the image. So I'm going to have it as string, and then we will have the UUID. So when you upload any of the image in the Uploadcare, it is going to be identified based on the UUID. So I'm going to have a UUID as string. Now we will also create one more interface, which will be the file entry. So I will just explain you in a bit what this interface is, but let me create it first. So I will have the file entry. All right, and this file entry will be the files that we are going to upload. So we are going to have the output file entry, and this type is provided by the Uploadcare. So I'm going to have this. All right, so we have created all the interfaces. Now we can just use them in our components. So I will go to the post component, and in the post component, what we will do is we will start with, first let's have the reference for the logged in user. So I will have the user, this will be equals to the user auth. All right, then I'm going to create a constant, and I will create a state variable of file entry, set file entry. this will be equals to the use state, and the type will be file entry. So we have already created the file entry type. All right, and then we need to provide the initial value. So let's have the initial value. So initial value will be files, which will be an array. So these files will basically be the files that we are uploading to the Uploadcare using the uploader, and then once we upload the image, we are going to get the output after the upload, where we will have all the CDN link, UUID, and that will be as a array, because we can upload multiple images, so it should be an array, and that's where we are going to have all the files here. The second I want is the post. So we are going to have the post, and we will have the set post, which will be equals to the use state, and we need to provide the type, and the type will be post. All right, then we need to provide the initial state. So let's have the initial state. The caption will be empty, the photos will be empty array, the likes would be 0, user likes would be an empty array. Then we are going to have the user ID, which will be null initially, and at last we are going to have the date, which will be the new type of date. All right, so this is our initial post will look like as the initial state for the post. So we have this. Now what we need to do is next we need to have to submit the post. So what I will do is we have the form. So let's have the on submit, and we're going to have the handle submit. All right, and for the text area, when a user type in the text area, we are going to have the value. So let's have the value as post dot caption, and we are going to have an on change here. So on change we are going to have the event, and once we have the event, we are going to set the post, and on the post we are first going to take all the values that are available in the post, and then we are going to have the caption. So we are going to set the caption as event.target.value. Oops, not validation message, it should be value. Okay, and we have this, and the one thing we need to do is for the file uploader, we are going to pass some props where the file uploader component will upload the files and get the CDN links and the output of the files after the upload. So what we will do is for the file uploader, let's use the file entry, and we are going to pass the file entry that we have as a state. And then we are also going to have an on change event, and for the on change, what I will do is I will have this set file entry. All right, so we will also write the handle submit function here. So let's go here, and here what I will do is I'm going to have a constant handle submit, which will be equals to an arrow function, and here we are going to have an, let's have the async, and we are going to have the event, and the event will be react.mouse event, and we are going to have the HTML form element. All right, then we are going to have the arrow function, and we're going to have the event.prevent default, so that it will not refresh our page. And I will also do a console.log of the file entry, or maybe uploaded file entry, and let's print that. So I'm going to have the file entry. All right, and I will also have the console.log of the created post is. All right, so for now we will just keep it as it is, and we need to work on the uploader side. So we have these two props passed to the file uploader. Let's handle them in the file uploader. So I will go to the file uploader component. So this is the component, and we pass two props here. So let's handle those props. So the first is file entry, and this will be of type file entry, and the second one is on change, and this is going to give me the file entry of type file entry, and it's going to return the void. All right, now if we go back to the post, then we don't see any errors in the post. So let's go and let's work here. So this should be file entry. All right, so now we will use these two props here. So what I will do is I'm going to have both the props. One will be the file entry, and the other one will be the on change. Okay, and I will also create a state variable. So if we go and we see this reference code, then you will see that they create a state variable. So we are going to use the same state variable. So let me copy, and I'm going to add it here. The state variable will have the output file entry. All right, and then it actually provides us this CTX provider reference using the useref, which actually help us to give all the information about the file uploads, all the states and everything. So I will just do a copy and put it here. All right, now we need to use this CTX provider ref into our JSX. So what I will do is let's have this, we will go down and we will just copy that. So I'm going to go down. All right, and then we here we have the CTX provider. So I'm going to copy this and put our CTX provider here. So we have the CTX provider as well. And now we need to handle the state. So once the file is uploaded, we need to get the details of those files. So what we will do is we can just go and take the reference of this project and just take out the file. Now we just need to use the handle upload event. So you see that we have the handle upload event. So what I will do is I'm going to copy this use effect and we will use it so that we will get the information about the uploaded files. So I'm going to use it here and I will all remove all this stuff which we don't want. And let's import the use effect. So what I will do is I will go here and I'm going to import the use effect. I will also import the use ref and I will also have the use state. All right. So we have the use state and everything. We will also need to have the output file entry. So let me have the output file entry. I will also have the output file entry here. And this is actually going to be executed when you upload the image. You have the handle upload event where you will have the event and you will use the set uploaded files. So what we can do is I can have a console log here. So let me have the console.log and I will have the uploaded file event is, and I'm going to have the event here so that we can see what we get the event here. Now we have this event and we also need to have another use effect where we will actually going to handle the reset uploader state. So once we are done with the upload, we need to reset that state so that it is available to upload the new image for the new post. So what we can do is we can just use one more use effect and we can have this resetter. So everything is already implemented. It's just we need to know how we can use it. So what I will do is I'm going to have another use effect where I will have the reset uploader state, and this is going to reset the state of the uploader once the files are uploaded so that it is available for the next upload or the next post. Now we can just give a try. So what I will do is we will just go back to our code, and here what we can do is we can just try to upload a file. So I'm going to upload this one. All right, I will click open, and since it is now uploaded, we can click on done. Before that, we will go to the inspect and we will see what events we get. So I'm going to go to the console log and I see that we have a problem. Use state is not defined. So let's go and let's check. So we'll add some few attributes here. So what attributes we are going to add is we are going to have the multiple. So we will allow it to upload multiple images. So I'm going to set it as true. All right, I will also have the confirm upload, that will be set it as false. All right, I will have the remove copyright and I'm going to change this to true. All right, and then I will also have to have image only. So right now we will not allow to upload videos, so we will just support the images. All right, then we have the file uploader, which is our regular uploader. We have the CTX as my uploader, and then we have the upload CTX provider. We have the same uploader and we provided the CTX reference. Now we will also do one more thing. We will also have to add the preview of the images that we have uploaded. For that, what I will do is I'm going to create a div here. All right, I'm going to give the class name as grid and I will have two grids. So I will have the two columns and I need to give the grid gap. So I will have the gap as 4 and I will have the margin top as 8. And then for that, what I will have is I'm going to loop through the file entry. All right, and then I will have the files dot map and I will have the individual file, and then I'm just going to add those images. So what I will do is I will have a div. I will close the div and this will be the brackets. So this will be round brackets instead of the curly bracket. So I have the div. I will provide the class name as relative. All right, and inside that I'm going to have my image tag where I'm going to render the images. I will also need to provide the key as we are using the map, so it will give a list. So let's have the key, and the key will be file dot uuid. All right, I will have the source. We need to provide the source, and then I'm going to have the key, and the key will be file dot uuid. All right, and to the source we are going to have the CDN link. So what I will do is I'm going to use the backtick and I will have the $file dot CDN URL, and to the CDN URL we are just going to have some formatting. For right now I will not put any formatting, we're just going to display it. Alright, so we have added the image and we will also have a cross icon so that we can remove the image if we want. So what I will do is I'm going to have a div. I will have a class name and I will give the class name as maybe cursor, I want cursor pointer, I will have the flex, I will have the justify center, position absolute. So this is, I'm adding a small cross icon on the image so that if you want to remove it, you can just remove that. Then I'm going to have a margin negative, so I will have the right as -2. Then I will have the top as -2. I will have the background color as white. I will have the border as 2, and I will have the border color. So the border color will be border slate 800. I will have the rounded full. So this rounded full will give me a circle. All right. And I'm going to give the width and height. So the width and height will be 7. Now I'm going to close the div. All right, and into this div what I will do is I'm going to have a button. So let's have a button, and I'm going to give the class name to the button as text slate 800. I will have the text in the center, so I will have text center. All right, I will give the type, and the type will be of button, and we will have the on click. And on the on click what I will do is I'm going to have a function which will be handle remove click, and I'm going to provide the file.uuid, and then we are going to have the cross into that button. Now we have this cross, we need to write this handle remove click, and now let's write this function. So what I will do is I will go up, and then I will write my function here. All right, so let's go here, and I will have my constant handle remove click, and this is going to be an arrow function, and here I will simply log console log the I am clicked, and I will have my file entry dot files here. Let's go and let's test. So I will go here, and I'm going to refresh my page, and what I will do is I will have this is my post. I will upload the photos. So let me upload 2 photos. So I'm going to upload these 2. I'm going to click open, and I'm not going to edit anything. I will click on done, and you will see that we have the preview of the photos, and you will see that here we have the complete event as well. So if I open this, then we see that we have the details. Inside the detail we have an array with 2 elements, and those 2 elements will be the actual file names or the file information that we have uploaded. So here we see that we don't have the CDN URL, but as the event progress, we will have a entry where we will also have the CDN URLs. So here you will see that we have the CDN URL, and we also have the UUID for the images. So that's how we do it. But now I don't want this images to be loaded with a full width. I just need to have a preview of it. So what we can do is now we can go to the Uploadcare. I will go back here. We have these 2 images, and what we can do is we can start using the operations. So here you will see that it's on the fly optimization. So if I go here, and if I go to the network tab, and if I see the images, then we will see that we have different images types here. Okay, let me just have the images, and if I go here, then we can define the what type of image we want, what should be the quality, and if we don't define anything, then it's going to provide us all the different types of the images that it has created. So this one is a JPEG image, then this one is a PNG image, and this one is a some other form, maybe the image AVF. So we need to specify that so that we will only receive that image which we want. And here we can add some operations. So what I will do is let's add some operations here. So what you can do is you can put slash, and then you can have an hyphen, and then you can define the operations. So I will have the format as auto, then I will have the quality. So let's have the quality, and I will use the quality as smart. I will also have the stretch, and I'm going to use the stretch as fill. And I will let you know what all these are, this quality, smart, what is the stretch. I will tell you everything what each of these operation means here. But before that, we will just finish our remove handle click. So what I will do is I'm going to go here, and we will just use this. So what I will do is if I click on cancel, okay, I'm going to clear it. And if I click on the cancel, you see that I am clicked, and we have these 2 files into our file entry.files. All right. So I'm going to use this, and let's delete them. And here what I will do is I'm going to have the UUID, and this UUID will be the output file entry, and I will have the UUID. All right, I'm going to have my arrow function here, and I will have the on change. All right, then I'm going to have the files, and I'm going to use the use callback so that we will just optimize this function. So what I will do is I'm going to go here. I will have the use callback. All right, or we can also do one more thing. We can just use the function that is available here. So let's go and let's copy the function. So I'm going to copy this function. All right, and then I'm going to just use the function here, but we need to change the stuff. So we have the UUID, output file entry, UUID on change, and on change we have the files. So we are going to have this, we will have the files, and this file will be coming from the file entry dot files. Then we are going to have the filter, and we are going to apply the filter f.uuid, which will not be equals to the UUID. Then we're going to have our bracket here, and then we are just going to pass the dependencies. So the dependency will be the file entry dot files, and then we have the on change. All right, so now if we go and if we try, so let me have, this is my new post. I will upload the file, so I'm going to upload this file. All right, I'm going to click on done, and we see that we have a broken image, so we made some mistakes. So let's go and let's check. So if I go here, then here we did some mistake, and we actually miss a slash in the end. So I will add it here, and we also miss a slash here. So we need to add this slash properly, otherwise the operation will not work. So you see that now we have this image, and we can also click on it and the image will be deleted. All right, and now when we click on the post, so let me go and I will click on the post, then we see that this is our post looks like. We have, this is a new post. Currently we don't have any photos, no UUID and no user like. Now let's complete this, but before that I want to show you how we can use this optimization here. So you will see that we have the, we can click here and we see that how the optimization works here. So once we upload the original image, this will be like this, and it also have an optimized version which will be like this in the WebP format. All right, and if we want to integrate the optimization into our project, then this is how the guide looks like. We have a CDN link, and then we access the image via the UUID. Once we have that, and if we want to fit the image with the layout, we use a preview as an operation, and then we just give the dimensions. All right, if we want an optimal image format, then we can use the format auto, and then if we want to correct the compressions and all this, we will use quality and smart. We can just go through a documentation quickly and see how different optimizations are available, and we might use one or two of them into our project as per the project need. So this is how the optimization is. We just saw how we do the preview, and then there are a couple of optimizations available. If you want to preview your image, you want to scale, crop, resize or crop, you can do everything by just using the operations and then just passing the parameters. So for the format, you will pass the format and then you will provide the format, which format you want. So let's take an example. If we want to see for one of the image, so I will go to the files, and here I'm going to copy the URL. I will open the URL here. All right, and for the format, if I want to have a format, I will have the format as JPEG. So I will do the inspect, I will go to the network tab, and if I want the format as JPEG, I will hit enter, and you will see that we get the JPEG image. And if we want to get another format, then you will see that we have different formats here. We want WebP, so let's use the WebP, and we will be getting the WebP. So I'm going to change this. I will have the WebP, and you will see that we have this WebP image. All right, so that's how you can do the different formats, and you can have the quality as well. If you want a normal quality, better or compressed, you can use the quality parameter, and then you can just have the quality. Progressive is also one of the very useful parameters. So if you have a image loading slowly because of the heavy images or maybe the low internet, then you can use the progressive loading. Then you can also check for the responsive images. So if you want to adapt your images based on your screen size, then you can use different ways of using it. You can just follow the documentation guide, and then you can just figure out what use case actually fit for you. And for the transformation part, we can see here that if we have an image, maybe we want to resize the image 200x. So what we can do is I will just copy this. I will go here and I will just use the resize. Oops, I have 2 times. So I'm going to remove that, and I will use the resize, and you will see that the image will get resized. So everything is done with the help of the APIs. You have resize, you can do smart resize, crop. So you can just follow through this guide and go through the documentation. So one of the feature I want to show you is the circle crop. So if I click on it, then you will see that if you want to implement a profile image feature, which we are going to use it in our application as well, then we can directly request for a image with a border radius, and we can have a circular image. All right, we can also have a background removal. You can use the background removal, and that will remove your background, and you can have the overlays and face detections. All right, so now let's get back to our project and we will continue to build that. So what we will do is we have this. Now we want to be able to post our photos. So let's go to the Visual Studio Code. All right, and we will go to the post, and on the post we are going to work on the handle submit. All right, so we will also see what value we get in the file entry. So we will have the file entry dot files. All right, and now if we go and check, then we will see that we already have it here. So we have a simple array and there's nothing inside it. So if I upload a new photo and I open it, all right, I will close, I click on done, and if I click on the post, then you will see that we have the one file into our file entry. All right, so now let's write that function. Okay, so we have this. Now what we will do is first we are going to have the photo meta. So we are going to extract the CDN URL from that. So this will be of type photo meta array, and this will be equals to the file entry dot files dot map, and we are going to get the file. All right, then we are going to have the arrow function, and here we are going to return the object. So what we want to return is we are going to return the CDN URL, and the CDN URL will be the file CDN URL, and we want to return the UUID. So we are going to have the UUID as file dot UUID. All right, once we have that, what we will do is we will also need to have our user. So let's have the user. We already have the user, so we will just use the user. All right, and here what I will do is if our user is not equal to null, then in that case we are going to create our post. So we are going to have our post as new post of type post, and this will be equals to, we have all the properties of our post. Then we are going to have the user ID. So we're going to have the user. If you have the user, then we are going to take the user ID, which is the UID, and if we don't have, we will just take it as null. All right, although we have done the null check, but I will just add it. And then we are going to have the photos, which will be equals to the photo meta. All right, now we have the new post, and then if we want to post it, what we need to do is we need to have our Firestore database set up. So for now, I will just do a simple console.log, and we are going to log the final post is, and this will be our new post. All right, and this will be the post, so not the photos. All right, now we can give a try. So if we go here and if we refresh it, all right, I will have this is my photo. I'm going to upload the photo image. All right, now I'm going to click on done, and for what I can do is I'm loading the heavy image, but I can just change it to WebP. So I will go to the uploader. All right, and in the uploader, in the format, I will change it to WebP. All right, now I have the image, and if I click on the post, then this is our final post. We have the caption, we have the date, we have the photo, then we have the user ID, which is a logged in user, and then we have this. Now we need to store this record or a document into our Firestore database. So let's go and let's see that. So what I will do is I'm going to go to my console, and in the console, what I will do is I will go to the project, and in the project, I will go to the Firestore. All right, and let's create the database here. So I will create the database into the region which is close to me. All right, and then I'm going to click next. I will use it in the test mode. So I will click create. All right, so our database is created. Now what we will do is let's go and let's write our repository services where we will have all the operations related to the Firestore. So what we will do is I'm going to go back here. All right, and I will go to the source folder, and I'm going to create a new folder which will be repository. So let me have the repository. All right, and in this repository, what I will do is I'm going to create a new file. All right, I will have the post service.ts. All right, so now we can write all the functions related to the operations that we need to perform with the Firestore database. So what we will do is first let's import the DB from the config. All right, and then what I will do is I'm going to create a constant for collection name. So I'm going to have a constant for collection name, and the name will be post. Now let's create different functions. So I will have the constant export. I will first have the create post, and this is going to accept a post of type post, and this is going to be an arrow function. All right, and here what I will do is I'm going to return add doc. So we are going to have a function add doc from the Firestore, from the Firebase Firestore, and here we are going to have the collection. We are going to pass the DB. We're going to pass the collection name. So let's have the collection name. All right. And then we need to pass the post. All right. So we need to import this. So let me have the post. So this is how we will do the create post. Now let's have the get all posts. So if we want to get all the posts, we are going to use the constant export get posts, and this is going to be an arrow function. And here we are going to create a query. So let's have a query. So I'm going to have the constant q. I will create the query where I will pass the collection. Let's have the DB and collection name. And then I want that whenever I retrieve the post, I want my latest post based on the date should be retrieved on the top. So we do an order by. So let's have the order by, and I'm going to order by the date and in the descending order. Now we have this query, and now we just need to use this query. So what I will do is we are going to have a return, and we will have the get docs. All right, and we are going to pass our query here. All right, so this way we will do get all post. Now the next function I want is I want get post by the user ID, so that if I go to my post or my photos, then I should be able to see all the posts that I have done. So we are going to have the next function, and that will be a constant get post by user ID. And here we are going to have the ID, which will be of type string. I'm going to have the arrow function, and we're going to have a query again, where we will have our query. We're going to have the collection. Then we are going to pass the DB, our collection name. All right, and then we need to have a where clause where we are going to have our query. So for the where clause, what I will do is I'm going to have my user ID, and this should be equals to the ID that we are passing. Then we will also have the get a single post. So if we want to get a single post, then let's have a function for that. So I'm going to have the export constant. All right, and for the get post, I will pass the ID, which will be a string. I'm going to have the arrow function. I will have a constant doc ref. All right, and this will be equals to doc. We will import the doc from the Firestore. We will have the DB. Let's have the collection name, and then I will pass the ID. All right, this is going to give me the document reference which is available based on the ID, and then we will just return them with the get doc, and we are going to pass the doc ref. All right, and now we will also do it for the delete. So let's have a delete. So I'm going to have the delete post. We'll take the ID. We will have the to return. So maybe I will remove this. And here what we will do is we will do a delete doc, and for the delete doc, what we will do is we are going to have a doc. We will have our DB collection name, and then we need to pass the ID. So we have created all the functions that are required for our operations with the Firestore. Now you must be wondering from where I got all these functions and what is this query and everything. So I will give you some ideas. So if you go to the Firebase documentation, okay, let me go to Firebase and I will search manage data Firestore. All right, so you have the add data to the cloud Firestore. So here you will see that we have all the information, how we add the data into the Firestore database, how is the structure, how we can delete it, how we can read and write everything. So here you will see that read. So if you want to get a data from the collection, then you can just follow this guide and you can just come up. So get a document. Then if you want to have a, let's scroll, get multiple documents from a collection, then you can just create a query and then you can use it. So everything is available in the Firebase documentation. I just went through it and just read it and then came up with my functions. All right, so we have this one. Now what we will do is we are going to complete our create post. So I will go here and now we can just make use of our functions. All right, so we will go here, and then once we have the new post, what I will do is let's go here. I will have a create post from the post service. So I will use a wait here, and we will have the create post where we just need to pass our new post. And once we create the post, we want the user to be navigated on the home page. So for that, we will use the use navigate hook again. So let me have a constant here. I will have a navigate, and this is going to be equals to the use navigate. All right, now we can make use of the use navigate hook. So I will go here and we have navigate, and then we are going to have slash here. And if it's not the case, that means the user is null, then we need to redirect the user to the login screen. So let me have the navigate, and we navigate the user to /login. Now let's give a try and let's try to create a post. So what I will do is I will go here. Okay, I'm going to create a post that this is my first post. I will upload the images. So I'm going to upload maybe this image. Okay, I'm click open. I'll click done. All right, now we see the images. We can do some more improvements, like we see that we have this cross button, but the image is still loading, but we will do all these improvements later on once we build the application core. Now we click on the post and we see that this was the final post, and we see that there is an entry missing or insufficient permissions. So let's go and let's check this, what this insufficient permission is. So I'm going to go here and I will go to the rules. So what we will do is here we are going to change this to true. All right, and I will do a publish. All right, so we have changed the permission and now we can give a try. So what I will do is I'm going to click on post again and we go to the home page. That means it was successfully persisted. So if we go to the database and if we check, then we see that we have a document entry. This is my first post, February, 0 likes. This was the photo we uploaded and this is the user ID, and for the user likes right now there's no likes on this photo. All right, so we are done with this create post. Now what we will do is next we are working on the my photos, where we will display all the photos that we have uploaded it. So let's go to my photos and let's work on that. So I'm going to go back to the Visual Studio Code and I will go to the my photos, and in my photos first we will start with the fetching of the photos based on the user ID from the Firestore database. So what we will do is let's get the user ID first. So I'm going to have the user and we will get the user from the user auth. All right, now we have the user and let's create a state variable for data set data, which will be equals to the use state. All right, we need to provide a type here and then we need to provide the initial value. So we will create a type for the response, and what we will do is let's go to the types and let's create one more interface. So I'm going to go here. I will have the export interface document response. All right, and in this what we will have is we are going to have the ID of the document, which will be of type string. Then we are going to have the photos, we are going to have the caption, likes, user ID and date. So I'm going to copy everything and add it here. All right, so this is how our document response will look like. Let's go back and let's work on that. So I'm going to go to the photos. I will have this will be document response. All right, and we are going to have the array, and here we will have the empty array. All right, now we have this, and now what we will do is we are going to create get all post function. All right, and we are going to use the async await arrow function, where we are going to have the ID, and this ID will be of type string. All right, we are going to use the try catch. So let me have the try catch block, and here what we will do is we are going to have a constant. We will use the query snapshot. All right, and this query snapshot will be equals to await, and we are going to call the function which will be the get post by user ID, and we are going to pass the ID. After that we are going to have a constant temporary array, which will be of type document response array, and that will be equals to an empty array. Now once we have the query snapshot, what we will do is we will loop through it. So if we have this query snapshot dot size greater than 0, all right, then in that case what we will do is we will loop through the query snapshot. So let's have the query snapshot dot for each, and then we are going to get a doc here. So for each doc, what we are going to do is I'm going to have a constant data, which will be equals to this doc dot data. All right, and we are just going to cast this data into type of post. All right, now once we have this data, what I will do is I will create a response object, and then I'm going to have this response object will be of type document response, and this will be equals to the ID. So we are going to have the ID, and I will give the ID as doc.id, and the rest of the information will be whatever we have it and the data. So I'm going to have it as data. All right, I can just do a console.log of what we have it in the response object is, and we can just print the response obj. And once we get this response obj, we will push it into the temporary array that we have created. So let's have the temporary array dot push, and I'm going to push the response obj. So we are doing all this because we don't get the data in a very straightforward way. We get a query snapshot, and for the query snapshot contains each of the document that we have by the user ID. So we are going to get multiple documents, then we just loop through all those documents, and because we want to extract the ID of that document, that's why we do all this stuff and push it into temporary array, and then we just set this temporary array to the set data, which we can just use it. So here what I will do is I'm going to set my data, and this temporary array I'm going to set it here. So we have that, and if it's else, so if there is a problem, then we can just do a console.log, and we can log that no such document. All right. And if it's an array, then we can just do a console.log of the error. All right, so now we have this. Now we just need to make a call to this function. So for that, we will make use of a use effect. So let's have a use effect, and in the use effect, I will have the arrow function, and then I will just have that if the user is not equals to null, we will just safeguard it. So if it is not equal to null, then we will do a console.log, and we will write the logged in user is, and we will also have the user here. Or maybe we don't want this because we already know and we have already logged the user a couple of times. So we are going to call the get all post, and we will pass the user UID. All right, now let's go and let's try. So oops, we see that the use effect is running multiple times. So we only want it to run one time. So what we will do is we are going to have an empty array here. So now if I refresh it, then we should be able to see that the response object, and this is how the response object looks like. So we have the ID and we have the photos of the user. All right. Now we have this. Now we just need to write the JSX and display it. So what we are going to do is let's write the JSX part first. So I'm going to go to the layout, and I will just remove this. I will use the div. I will have the class name as flex. I will have the justify center. All right. Inside that, I'm going to have another div with a class name. I'm going to give the border max width will be 3XL, and I will use the full width. After that, I'm going to have an H3, and on this H3, I will have my photos. So this UI will be very similar how we have it for the create post. So we are just going to keep it consistent. So I'm going to have the slate 800 text white. I will have the text center. Then I will have the text large, and then I have the padding as 2. All right, if we go and check, then we see this is how it looks. The text is not white color, so let's have it white. All right, we have my photos, and now we just need to display the photos. So I'm going to create a div, and on this div, I will have the class as padding 8. All right, I will have another div. I will have a class name as grid. We are going to have the grid calls as 2, and for medium, I'm going to have the grid calls as 3, and I will have the gap as 4. And inside this, what I will do is if we have the data, then we render the post. All right, we will create a function. And if we don't have it, then we are just going to have a div, and I'm going to have ... loading into it. All right, now we need to create the render post. So let's do that. So what I will do is I'm going to go here. I will have a constant render post, and this will be equals to an arrow function. And here what we will do is we are going to return data.map. So we are going to loop through the data, and then we are going to display all the photos. We will have the item, which will be equals to an arrow function. And then here we are going to return our JSX for the images. So I will have a div. I will give a key to that div, and the key will be item.photos of 0.uuid. So there is a one catch. What we are doing is if in a post we upload multiple images, so right now our application cannot handle multiple images, how to display them, because we are not having any carousel for the image. So we will, if we upload multiple images in a post, we are only going to display the first image. So that's why we have the photo, and we have a 0 for the array. So we will have the 0th index, and we are going to display only one element. Then I'm going to have the class name. I will give it as
relative. And then what I will do is I'm going to create an overlay on the photos so that I can display some information there. So I will show you in a bit what we are trying to do here is I will have the absolute, then I'm going to have the transition, and I will have the transition as all. All right, I will also give the duration for the transition, or maybe I will do this later on. First, I will just show you what images we are going to display. So what I will do is I'm going to have a image, I'm going to have a source for that image. All right, I'm going to use backtick. Let's have the dollar, and then we are going to have the item photos of 0, and we are going to use the CDN URL, and I will give some parameters here. So I'm going to use the progressive this time. So let me have the progressive. All right, I will use progressive as yes, and we will see how it looks like. Now I'm going to close this. All right, now let's see how this image looks like. So if we go, then we see the image looks like this, but I don't want to display the image like this. So what I will do is I'm going to have more operations here. So I will scale this image, and I will scale it as 300 by 300. So I want all the images should have the same dimension, 300 by 300, and have it center. All right, so now if we go, oops, I made some mistakes. So let me check. We need to add a slash here. And here it's actually the scale crop. So I will use the scale crop, and we see that this is how the image will look like. So if we go here, then we will be able to see that how we do this scale crop. So here you will see that we have multiple options here. All right, and I'm using one of the is scale crop. So this is the crop, and they also have a scale crop. So I'm going to have this scale crop, and I provide the dimensions. You can also use smart crop. So there are multiple options which we can use. So for now, for me, it's scale crop, and I'm going to have 300 by 300 in center. So this is how it looks like in the app. Now what I want is when I hover on it, I should have an overlay on this, and I should see what the like counts on this image is. So that's what we will do is we are going to have a div here. All right, and I'm going to give a class name as absolute. I will use transition, or maybe for now I will just keep it absolute. And then I will give the transition property so that we have a smooth transition when we hover on the image. So I will have transition all, and there will be a duration to this transition which will be 200. I will give the background as transparent. All right, and then when we hover on it, so let's have the hover property, and when we hover on it, I want to change the background color to slate 950. So this should be slate 950. And we will give the opacity to this background. So when I hover it, I will have the background opacity, and I want to give the opacity as 75. I will give top 0, bottom 0, left 0, right 0. All right, and we are just going to cover this black overlay the whole image. So that's why I will have the full width, and I will have the full height. All right, now then what I have to do is I will just go here, and inside this what I will do is I'm going to create a div, and I'm going to give the class name to this div as flex. I will have it as flex call so that we can have a heart icon, and below that we can have the like counts. So I will have the justify as center, then I'm going to have the items center, then we are going to have the width as full, and then we are going to have height as full. All right, now on this div what we will do is we are going to use the heart icon. So this is the second way of using the icons in our project. We are going to use the Lucid React. So I'm going to have the heart icon from the Lucid React, and I'm going to give the class name. So I will have the hidden, and I will use the fill white, and I give it as a hidden. It's that I only want to display this whenever I hover on this div. So that's why I put it hidden. I will show you how we will do that. When you hover on the div, you will also display the heart icon. So we will see how we do that. And then I will have a div, and in this div I will just have the item dot likes, and then we will just display the likes. Now we are going to give some class name here, but before then we can go and see. So if I hover on it, then you will see that we get a black overlay, but on the hover what I want is that my heart icon should be displayed, and the count should also not be displayed. So what I will do is I'm going to change this to hidden, and now you will see that we don't have any data displayed here. All right, so we have the hidden here, and I will have the text white. So we have this. Now what I want is whenever I hover on the image, I want to change my color of the heart, and I also want to display the heart and the likes. So how we can do that is if we hover on this div, I want these two divs should be visible. So that's where we use this group feature in the Tailwind CSS. So how we can do that is, so let's go to the Tailwind config. All right, and in the Tailwind config, what I will do is if we go down and if we go to the extend, so where is the extend? So this is the extend. So I'm going to click here, and if we go down, then here we can define a property. What I will do is I will have a display, and here I will have the group hover. All right. And now we can go back to our photos. Then here what we can do is we can have a group here, and when someone hovers on this group, we need to have a property here. So we will have the group hover, and we will make it this as block. All right. If we go and check, then you will see that when I hover it, this heart gets blocked and we able to see it on the image. Similarly, we will also have a group hover block for the likes. So I'm going to go here and I will have the likes here. So we see we have the likes here. Now we can also try to upload one more image and we will see how it looks. So what I will do is, this is my second image and I want to upload that image. So let's upload this one. All right, I'm going to click on done, and we see the image here. I will click on post, and we go to the home, and let's go my photos, and we see that we have two photos now. But these photos only belong to this particular user. Let me log out, and I'm going to sign in with the new user. So this time I will sign in with my Gmail user. All right. And if I go to my photos, I don't see any photos because this user hasn't uploaded any photos. So let's upload a photo. So this is a new user photo. All right. I'm going to click here. I will upload an image. So this time I will upload this image. I will click on done, and we see that we have the image. I will click on post. And now if I go to my photos, then we see that we have this photo. Even though the photo was with a different dimension, but we are using the scale crop, and then we are using a dimension of 300 by 300 to get the photos. Now if I log out, then let's go and let's log into the another user. And if I log in, then if I go to my photos, then you will see that these two are the photos. All right, so we have both the images, and if we hover it, then we see that these are the like. All right, we see that we have now loaded the images that are uploaded by this user. I will close everything which we don't want it. All right, and now for this one, what we will do is next we need to work on the home page. So we already have done with the add photos, and we are done with my photos. Now the main thing we need to do is we need to work on the home page. So let's go back to our Visual Studio Code, and I will close everything that we don't want it. All right, and now we only have to open the home page. So let me go to the home page. So we will take a pause here and we will continue our application in the next video. So if you like the video, a thumbs up is appreciated. You can also connect with me via Facebook or Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter for latest updates. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss the videos like this one. Thank you. Thanks for watching.